Hello and welcome. It's another commentary track for Do You Expect Us to Talk? I am joined, of course, by our illustrious host, Rebecca Andrews.
Hello.
And, of course, our favourite blowjob concierge. It's
I prefer potty-mouthed raconteur.
Yes, yeah. I think that best suits you. I think potty mouth raconteur.
Good evening, folks.
And we have a very special guest for the not for the first time we have a guest. We've had Charlie on before, but the first time actually doing it for a commentary. This is very exciting. Is the author of Catching Bullets. It's Mr. Mark O'Connell.
Hello, good evening. Hello.
I was worried there. I thought I was going to get your name wrong because I heard that someone there go. So, no, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Yes, very good. Yes, I have wine and Blu-ray, so life is good.
Yes, I too. I have beer and Blu-ray, so yes, equally life is.
If excellent. I go quiet during any of this commentary, I've gone out for wine. I've got the Blu-ray beer.
As well.
It's a view to a kill. Come on, Dave. I would have thought your alcohol would be required for this one.
Yeah, obviously I've not thought this through. Actually, this is now going to be a different commentary than I thought it was going to be, because actually we've got someone here who knows some stuff and has some stories and stuff, rather than just,
Yeah, but he still drinks, though, so it's that double-edged sword. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fair enough.
Some proper sober analysis.
Sober analysis, that's our watchword.
Yes.
We haven't done any yet, but it's all right. Okay. Before we get into this, this will date the episode, but I think we kind of ought to mark it. We've had a big loss within about the last hour and a half.
We have, haven't we? It's Ken Adams just passed away, isn't he? That's a big one if anyone knows Bond fans. So yeah,
there's few bigger. I mean, you've got obviously Barry was very much the sound of Bond. Well, I think Ken Adam was very much the look of Bond.
Absolutely, he's one of the last of that sort of the DNA of Bond that's still walking this world.
We often refer to it as like the brains trust, those early episodes, that team that sort of turned up every year through the 60s and a lot of the 70s, and they were all at the top of their game at the same time.
But like John Barry as well, he changed the genre of what he did. He wasn't just a great Bond film designer. Sort of a lot of people can be that, but his work and his eye is, you can see it in Canary Wharf, you can see it in Terminal 5, that war rooms now look like war rooms based on what he thought a war room would look like when he hadn't seen one. That's a true sort of genius artist legacy, I feel. They
have a legacy that transcends the films they're doing, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
And he also designed he worked on lots of films that he never continued with. Like he designed Superman the movie with Guy Hamilton at the beginning.
And
the Fortress of Solitude is
and
his.
I actually thought it wasn't because of Guy Hamilton and Guy Hamilton moving on.
I couldn't possibly say for sure, but it would make a sense. But then, he left the production. Likewise, Star Trek, the motion picture as well. He designed stuff. And when you look at it, you think, well, Fortress of Solitude, that is what it looked like, in Superman 1, 2, and beyond.
I had no idea he did Fortress of Solitude.
Well, he had that crystal, angled crystal thing. If you think about it, it's all triangles and angles, which is utterly Ken Adam. I'm sure some Superman fan will chime in and say no, but I'd say otherwise.
Okay. Yeah, so we just wanted to mention that. We'll come back to it a little bit later on, because we do have some questions this time, and I know one of them is Ken Adam related. So maybe we should move on to what we're doing tonight. So Chris, obviously we got Mark on, which we would have had for any film.
Yeah.
But this is a particularly fortuitous coincidence.
Yeah, because isn't it one of his favourites?
It is my favourite Bond film.
It's
not
your
my best.
favourite Bond film?
It's my favourite Bond film, yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you wouldn't class this as the best Bond film, though, would you?
No.
It's more of a personal...
it
could be. I don't know.
I can just imagine him saying yes and then just hearing a click, and then we hear nothing else from Mark tonight.
Goodbye.
Oh, look, Bake Off's on. Quick, let's go.
I mean, let's face it, it's the Dream Team, isn't it? That does it.
I don't know if he's heard our episode on A View to a Kill yet. We got into the habit of calling Roger Moore and Patrick Macnee the Dream Team.
Right.
Which is obviously completely accurate. It's the dream where you send people with a combined age of 120 to sort out your problems.
Right. Well, there is a sort of aging Avengers hook on that.
Yeah.
But they were
I
old
do
colleagues
think-
as well.
He did actually break a bit of a sequence here because this is one Avenger he didn't sleep with. Although they did share a suite, so you never know.
Yeah. Something about
I would
boot
like to see a
polish,
Bond
yeah.
and Tibbet TV series, though. That would be pretty cool.
Well, they did do Sherlock Holmes and Watson together. In
Of course they did, yes.
late 70s TV movie.
I've not seen. I need to see this now.
Yeah, I haven't
You
seen
have
it,
to. I forgot about that.
but I'm sure they were getting.
I'm pretty. I can imagine it being exactly how the actor how they put it on, like, you know, as St. John Smythe, like, completely bosses around his poor like chauffeur around. I imagine that's exactly what it's like with that film.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yeah, taking the Mickey and all
Watson.
that. Yeah.
You-
Oh yeah.
Shall we watch this film then?
Okay, fair enough. Sorry.
No, it's all right. We talk all you like, but this is quite a long film.
It is. Count us in, Chris.
Okay, alright,
Pretty
so
please.
as always, we're watching the Blu-ray, and we are on the screen with Initiate Mission, so on the count of 3, I will click on the play button for Initiate Mission. So, viewers at home, if you want to join in, 1, 2, 3. So, are you watching a different Blu-ray player now, Becca?
Yeah, I'm on my PlayStation 3,
Oh, you like me now, yes.
so hopefully we'll be queued up. Yeah,
Yeah.
Skippy has gone to the, I don't know, Silicon Heaven or whatever it is. Silicon Hell.
Yeah, where all dead Blu-ray players go. So Mark, so what is the reason why this is your favourite then?
Oh god, where do you start? I've only got 2 hours 10 minutes, but that should be enough. I
We can just sit off now. Brilliant.
It was the first one I anticipated. I saw Octopussy was the first one I saw ever at the cinema as well, and then I was aware of View to Kill. My grandfather worked with Ian behind the scenes during the time of its production. It was, as I said, it was the first one I was getting fed names and things like Eiffel Tower and horses, and I became quite intrigued in it. So I suppose it was the first one that I did all that fan rituals of being excited by the teaser and the poster and getting the soundtrack. So that's the first reason. And then there's
This
lots
was your
of others.
Phantom Menace then.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
In fact, it was like yours though as well, wasn't it, Dave?
This is my first. This isn't the. I don't know if it was the second Bond I saw or not because I genuinely don't remember if there was anything between the two. But the first Bond I ever saw was The Man with the Golden Gun, which was on TV Christmas 1984, and this came out. I think I'm right in saying June '85, and this is my first big screen Bond, and I loved it at the time, definitely.
It was very. I mean, one of the reasons I defend it was very contemporary at the time. A lot of Bond films.
I remember it vaguely being like, oh, this is like the new modern Bond with Roger Moore still.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Octopussy is a very classical, vintage Bond film with its hot air balloons and its steam trains and its elephants. There's not many contemporary touches in it. Likewise, Living Daylights, and possibly even License to Kill. But this was microchips and shoulder pads and an American city when America was still cool.
The definitive
in the
80s Bond.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, the most 80s Bond film, I always think Live and Let Die is the most 70s Bond
Yeah,
film.
that's
or perhaps
because
Slightly Lovely.
blaxploitation could only be that decade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Likewise, GoldenEye is probably the most 90s.
The 90s Bond, yeah.
Yeah, go along with that.
Makes sense.
And you also got that in the villains as well because they're quite. I mean, originally you wanted basically pop stars to play. I mean, you wanted David Bowie and Sting. And it was already-
Barry wouldn't do it. He hated Bond. They asked him, but he just was never a Bond fan. And I think his line was, "Why will I watch my stunt man
Bowie said that,
hang off
yeah.
a cliff for 6
Yeah.
months, even if I'm getting paid for it?" Which is fair enough. It would have been brilliant having Barry in it.
That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? We all
Yeah.
I can't see him in a role. I really can't. You know, it just would have been like, yeah, you're the Goblin King.
Oh, he wasn't at all a bad actor, you know. I mean, you can't just go by Labyrinth. He was in plenty of stuff that was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's
he'd
just,
have been fine.
yeah, maybe the Bond template at that time wouldn't have worked. I think if had he still been with us, he would have been amazing as a sort of agent in the field, meeting Daniel Craig in some dodgy Thai bar or something. But that's something we'll never get. But maybe in the mid '80s, that glossy Bond, Eon, Universal Exports template.
Well, like or hate them, they were quite
Bowie.
safe by this point as well, weren't they? This was not edgy entertainment, was it? The later Roger Moore films.
Possibly not, but I rarely watch a Bond film for edge. Although the Craig.
No, I know. I just think
yeah.
I don't know. Bowie wasn't in that much. I just wonder if...
And just note, this is probably like, again, one of a good sequence, but ruined by just one bit.
What? Oh, I don't mind the Beach Boys. Maybe because I
Fake Beach Boys.
love the Beach Boys. Well, the fake Beach Boys. Yeah, the library footage Beach Boys.
Library footage Beach Boys.
Who'd have
But, yeah, I
thought
mean,
Bond invented snowboarding?
Yeah, one of the first scenes on film apparently where you see a snowboarder as well. That's sort of for Triv fans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like when
It's
you're
like-
at quiz sometimes.
If you want to
Yeah.
sell a product, get a 57-year-old on it.
Doubled by a 19-year-old. Yeah.
I know, that's the thing. That I think I said this in review. In a lot of the earlier films, it was all about... When Roger wasn't doing it, it was all about seeing too much of the stuntman's face or back projection. With this, it's now at the point that there isn't a 57-year-old in the world that moves like that. Even if they're quite fit, there's a limberness to the stuntman that you just think, well, it's not him, is it?
I mean, I don't mind. I love dodgy back projection in cinema, so I don't mind the artifice slightly peeking through. It's part of the sleight of hand. And you show me a Bond film with Craig where you can't see that it's Ben Collins or Ben Cook doing the jumping off scaffolding in Madagascar. It's part of the mystery of, or the silly, obvious mystery of Bond. I can understand.
It is what it is.
Yeah, when we later get to the Paris scenes, it's not just one stunt double as well. It seems to be a different one on each shot. And that can be a bit jarring, I could imagine, for those.
I mean, it wouldn't have been much worse if they'd used Grace Jones as his stunt double. Anyway.
Yeah, he might have had objections to
Anyway, he's now going to have sex with not Farrah Fawcett.
that. Mrs. Best, or nearly Mrs. Best.
Well, she was,
Yeah,
yeah.
nearly, yeah.
We mentioned that in review. She was dating him while he was at AFC Bournemouth.
Yeah, well, she was one of the Octopussy girls, and I think a lot of them were invited back just because it was easier, just because they had all the phone numbers, I think, just to bring them all back. So there's a couple of Octopussy girls.
Yeah, rather than rehire, so.
Even Maud Adams.
Yes. Well, when we get to Fisherman's Wharf, I'll break some myths on that one.
Okay, yeah, because we heard it's
Interesting,
like,
because
in
if it's
3
the-
Bond movies.
If it's the myth I think you're going to break, we were all full of the fact, well, certainly me and Becca were full of the fact that we thought we spotted her last
Yeah,
time.
we're trying to find her. We're like, where is she?
We think we know where she is. I think Mark's about to prove us wrong.
Oh, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll hold that little. It's my only gem, actually, so I'm going to hold that one back.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah.
Look at this sleazy old bastard. Now we're going into Chris's favourite pre-title sequence.
See, I like the neon, and I like the song.
So much
And
neon.
this, right, was unbelievably exciting in 1985.
Yeah.
How
And the
it
Blu-ray's
can
doing it a lot
It
of
can
favours as
barely
well.
contain
It
her
really is.
breasts. Look at that.
Yeah,
That was so exciting in 1985.
that is, yeah.
Because it's like cool and modern because it's in neon.
Yeah.
What do you reckon
yeah,
of
look
the
at that!
theme
Look at
song,
that! Look at that laser thing! What the fuck is that shit?
It's
Seriously.
a laser. It's the 80s, lasers are cool.
Yeah, it's very day glow. It's that sort of, it's like a look-in magazine with music. This whole sort of 2 or 3 minutes of. I like the titles. I did hear your comments the other day on sort of random ladies who can't ski moving her hips like she is skiing. I get
It was
that,
just
I
the
get
laziness of it because, like I think I said, that the amount of nudity they've covered in this series using timing and lighting, and in this they just stick a bit of fucking ribbon over it.
They can't be bothered.
It's just like that'll do.
I mean, like the worst bit is when you see like Spy Who Loved Me, Roger Moore's silhouette just pop up and pop that down again. I mean, that's
Yes.
like, I mean that bit there like is used in Spy Who Loved Me.
That is repurposing. That is not recycling. That's repurposing.
Recycling.
That's we got it right first time.
Tomato.
It's a bit like all these Latin lovers who make love to women like 4 or 5 times a night. Me, get it right first time, bang, done. Same thing.
That's one way of describing the titles to View to Kill. Yeah.
It is. It's totally like my lazy sexual thing.
I mean, like, I like the film itself. There is like a certain charm to the naffness. Like, it's really difficult to point why.
Naff, this is art.
Like, look, like that is like. Hang on, where have I seen that before? And what the fuck's that laser thing?
It's because they dated so badly.
I mean, probably the whole sequence, you might be right, but I'm just thinking of the Living Daylights with that martini glass at the end, and I think that's horrific.
I mean,
I don't mind that.
I expected it to be sponsored by Sun Bingo or something like that. It was just so tacky.
Foxy
Well,
Bingo.
they didn't have the greatest budget for these 80s title sequences, and of course you could say what it shows, but they often Maurice Binder would leave it to the last minute because he knew that if he left it to the last minute, things wouldn't be cut or changed. A pal of mine was Maurice's assistant in the 80s on the Bond title sequences.
Wow.
A guy called Alan Church, who's now a big special effects coordinator. And he was literally, for Living Daylights, they would be the scene where the woman's lying in the water was shot from above. That was literally a paddling pool at midnight trying to get the shot done. Also, I'm moving on here in terms of the film, but the hand in the satin red glove in Living Daylights is actually my mate Alan's hand.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's all. So they had no money, and
I'll try to remember to not knock one out to that next week.
Yes, yeah.
I literally watched that last night, and I didn't have.
And Chris was definitely knocking one out.
Yeah.
I was so tempted to post that on our Facebook page last night. Our conversation about the Living Daylights, the crew prepare.
Yeah, it was one of them things where, like, I'm not spoiler it for next week, but I'm going to be very favourable in Daylight.
Yeah, me too. I'll join you.
I think we all will.
Yeah. It's funny because Dalton has always got a hard time, but his two Bond films have been really good. I mean, they're both top tier in my eyes. So.
I'd be like, without Dalton, we wouldn't have somebody like Daniel Craig coming along as well, giving another really edge to the role. So.
It's worth remembering The View to Kill as well. A lot of people attack it and have fun with it, and it is meant to be a fun caper, so that's all fine.
I don't hate it.
But Roger Moore and the 80s Bond films, they never lost money for the studio. They may not have made, sort of Empire Strikes Back style profit, but they did make money, and View to Kill still enabled a fourth actor to come in, and Living Daylights and License to Kill happened because of that momentum that Moore kept going. And
the only film in Moore's run that you would think, oh, that's not good, was Man with the Golden Gun, because that took under 100 million all told. But the rest of them are all really solid hits.
And everything about Man with the Golden Gun is part of the iconography of Bond. I think the Scaramanga and the twisting car. I don't have a problem with Man with the Golden Gun. I think it's actually quite a drier, cleverer film than it lets on, and it's got the great villain Christopher Lee, who's, like all good Bond villains, is actually just Bond gone bad. And I love
He's not used enough in it. I think that's what we said. I know you can.
It's
I know
really
you can overdo these things, but really, when you watch the film with fresh eyes and forget your expectations, he's just not in it enough.
But
and too much of the film is that Solex agitator plot, which is not particularly well thought through. But I mean, it's, again, if you take the two or three sort of worst films in the series, for me, I don't think Man with the Golden Gun's in it, but it is down there somewhere. But
Well, that's the thing with Bond. I mean, it's difficult to really say like favourites and worst, because when it comes to like really like bad films, well, if you ask us, there's only like a limited few, and everything else is kind of like there's not much in it. And, then you got like the top tier ones that everyone's got their favourites for.
I think there's at least. I mean, I do think there's two or three that are better than the rest, but in all honesty, I think there's probably, off the top of my head, 8 that you could put top without, in quality terms, without too much of an argument.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Die Another Day. That's not my worst Bond film.
What is your worst Bond film?
My least favourite, to be diplomatic here, is The World Is Not Enough.
Whereas I think that has greatness within it. It just blows it with one of the worst second halves of the entire series.
Yeah. It's just hammy and soap operatic, and it does a bit what Spectre does. It's so concerned about hiding its villain that it just doesn't let its villain be the villain. So Sophie Marceau was touted as the great female villain through and through, was left as some sort of horrible victim of Renard playing it, Begbie playing it with a Russian accent. It was all just a bit awkward, and it's awful.
It's awful when you sell this he doesn't feel pain thing, and his whole use of that is holding a hot rock and putting his hand through a table.
Yes.
So that was a bit wasted. The thing with Sophie Marceau, I think one of the reasons I really liked The World Is Not Enough Once Upon a Time, and I'm still kind of to it the most. I would guess of the three of us, I'll rank it highest, although that's not to say I'll rank it high, is that I've only bought I don't want him to do it in every film, but I've only ever bought Bond having fallen in love 3 times in the series, and Sophie Marceau is one of them. I completely bought that Bond fell for her in that film.
I buy the betrayal, yeah. I buy the how he gets.
And when you
betrayed
think
by
he
his
was
crime
supposedly fell in love Inspector, and not one of us bought that.
No.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's like I kind of like agree with both of you. I mean, I'm kind of with Dave. I do have a bit of a soft spot for The World's Not Enough, but I completely can see why other people won't like it because it's just like bland in terms of its execution. Really,
I think also what was long overdue before the Craig era, and I think I've hinted at this in a lot of different reviews, is that I don't care how many women Bond sleeps with. It's one of the tropes of the character, but it was this idea that he has to finish the film in somebody's arms, and without that, Kissy Suzuki wouldn't exist, and neither would Denise Richards, Christmas Jones. That character is crowbarred in and looks the way she does and is cast the way she is, purely so Bond has someone to have sex with at the end of the film. And frankly, if he falls in love, quote unquote, early in the film, with a character that's either going to go bad or die, leave it at that. Don't crowbar another character in.
There's some trophy at the end.
There's no need.
Yeah.
They didn't do it in Skyfall. Well, I mean, he didn't.
I was going to say Skyfall. Yeah,
he didn't fall in love with Severine. I know he didn't. But the fact is, they didn't kill off Severine and think, shit, who's he going to shag at the end of the film?
Yeah.
They just let it go. And I do like that about the Craig era, and it's a big problem. And one of the big problems with Brosnan's era is stunt casting. Casting these big-titted Americans. It's just not necessary.
Yeah, a lot of the Brosnan years casting, particularly Denise Richards, was maybe it wasn't Eon. It was it was the studios and their power and their thinking. And very
Eon.
American.
I mean, Eon have made some bad calls over the years, but it doesn't strike me as particularly Eon.
Yeah, it probably wasn't. Anyway, we are at a Paris restaurant here.
We are at the fastest acting poison ever in a restaurant that
and the
doesn't
most
exist.
British French person in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, he is very French. Yes.
I suis une aubergine. In your best French accent.
I know I did have a question. How
long
long before the later Bond films did they take Roger out of deep freeze?
Oh.
I mean, his hair never fully defrosts.
Okay, can you spot the British comedian in this film, in this sequence?
No.
I'm going to give you a trivia point. Sat at the next table is Tony Hawk's, not the skateboarder.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is. Yes, I saw it.
Yeah. I can see him now.
I remember seeing this and thinking, I know that face.
No, he's right there.
Yeah.
Tony Hawks, who was in a few episodes of Red Dwarf and so on.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the Spitting Image as well, maybe?
He's right there, you can see him.
Yeah.
He would have been. He was an impressionist as well. So it's very likely he was.
I still don't understand this cabaret act, although I think it works. I like Carol Ashby doing it with her getting her butterflies out for the boys. But I don't know how many people have been to restaurants where there's sort of butterflies on fishing wires.
Well, last time I went up the top of the Eiffel Tower, this didn't happen.
What, no one got murdered in front of you?
No. I think it's just a ploy so that aubergine can get poisoned.
I think we said this on the podcast, but this is quite an efficient way of actually assassinating someone.
It really is. You could do it a lot quicker and more efficiently. Yeah. I imagine.
I don't mind it. I mean, that's one of the brilliant things about View to a Kill, and it's for a while became one of the last Bond films that actually uses the locations it's shooting in as characters within the film. Because then we moved into that era of Morocco doubling up as Afghanistan, and with the sort of the fake locations that are still glamorous but maybe a bit safer, cheaper to go to. But Paris is Paris in this film. San Francisco is San Francisco. That's what I love about it. It's one of the last Bond films where the locations really feature as themselves.
Yeah, because you always get like French taxi drivers always drinking wine on the road.
Yeah, my car.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I have to agree with you there, definitely. I mean, the locations are definitely...
Basically, he should have been covered in onions and cheating on his wife just to get all the cliches in at once.
With a baguette under his arm.
With a baguette under his arm.
Dear. No, it's nice to go to an authentic Bond location and go, I've been there, and to go along down Lombard Street or up to...
I thought that was Grace Jones.
I've actually got.
Oh, yes.
I've still never been to Paris. It's the
I didn't
apart from
go.
Siberia.
I
It's
didn't
the
go to
last
about 3 years ago.
location.
Oh, you got it. It's fantastic.
I know. No,
Yeah, beautiful city.
Yeah, it's sort of the nearest best place, and I can't believe I've still not gone. But we'll rectify that soon, hopefully.
Your birthday trip maybe coming up this year.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
He turned 40 last year. It's too late.
Ugh.
He's on the road to 50 now. No point.
Oh.
Well, that's a morbid thought.
Now, I love this bit where you see the diving board. There you go. Yeah, there's the diving
Yeah,
board.
quite literally,
Still
obviously a
didn't see it.
diving
I
board.
didn't see it.
And she does that sex grunt as well, which
She's like,
I remember
"Oh."
being 10 years old and going, "Oh, she's done a sex grunt."
Yeah,
she
but the
jumps
weird
off.
one is where she gets into the boat and she's laughing with Max and slaps herself.
Yes, I don't mind that because that's sort of part of the whole
Because she's
What about
crazy.
character?
psychosis. She's a complete lunatic. The character
Look at,
and the
look at this for an
actress.
effect. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, that wasn't a stuntman at all.
That was
No.
obviously Rog.
Margot Kidder is still hanging on underneath that lift.
I always think of Superman too. When
Yeah.
I
Who's that
just-
guy? Oh, my car. Crazy English. Sorry.
And Margot spelling out Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
Oh,
I always feel sorry for that poor taxi driver. He's got his car nicked. He's going to get destroyed.
Yeah, if he's a drunk driver, who gives a shit?
my car.
It was Ribena, wasn't it?
We know
was
that
a
he's
Renault.
sober at least, and
insurance
he's driving
premium.
responsibly as a result.
All that sugar.
It's great effect. Well, it's great
Renault as
cast
well,
stunts though. It's Remy Julian and his team really sort of kicking the
Oh,
vehicular
it's
shit
great.
out of
It's
Oh,
Paris.
yes,
I love
amazing
it.
stunt. Really amazing.
And there's a real sort of logic to it, even if it gets silly, like we're going to land on a coach.
This
that
is
has
not my
no
problem
pitch.
with this film, really. I don't dislike the Eiffel Tower sequence particularly at all.
It's just like when you got Roger Moore's maybe one of the dangerous spies in the world, and he's just struggling to get up the stairs. It just, that's where the problems come in, really.
That was
Now,
quite
my-
obviously not Rog there, I'm afraid.
I've got an issue with this scene and this wedding. Who carries a 4-tier wedding cake through a dance floor at a wedding on a boat?
Silly people.
You watch it, I'm like,
Yeah.
who's?
Yeah,
why-
who does
why
that?
can't you look? Yes,
They're
you
just
carry-
asking for trouble.
They
carry
are.
a-
They really are.
A cake through.
Fuck them, they deserve it.
Have a bowl of Angel Delight and get over yourself.
It's what Moneypenny would have wanted.
It's the 80s.
Actually, no, I've got the answer for this. The French.
Moneypenny wants an Evelyn and Bond rubbing liniment into each other. That's what she wants.
Joking aside, there's a real urgency about all this stuff. It's sort of similar to the atomic
It
bomb
keeps
in
moving.
Octopussy in the Circus. There's a real,
It
oh my
does.
god, it's actually quite, sinister and aggressive, the whole thing. It's still silly stunts through Paris, but
Yeah,
there's,
but if
there's
John
a pace
Glenn-
to it, and you can't knock the film for its pace.
But if John
think.
Glenn had one talent, he was good at this stuff. He kept the action moving really well.
Yeah, moves along at a nice pace.
There's that slap to the face.
Slap.
Oh, you're
Yeah, I really like John Glenn. I think the only thing that sort of holding back was the kind of the silly aspects of Roger Moore. I think 'Cause I think it comes alive when Dalton comes on. I think.
Yeah,
And
they see
For Your
things
Eyes
really
Only as
sing,
well.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still doesn't get the sort of esteem he deserves. I mean,
Probably because he was a company man, Mark. Would you say that's it? Oh, it's just an internal promotion. He was cheap. I'm not saying I think
no,
that. I'm
there is
saying
an
I
element
wonder
of-
if that's
yeah.
They didn't hire some prestige director or even name director. They promoted someone from within and his first 3 films are like older Roger. Between and also the highest grossing Bond films were like either side of his run. So I
yeah.
do wonder if that's got something to do with it, because Goldeneye broke Moonraker's gross. Nothing in
It's
between
sort-
did.
yeah.
Plus,
It's
also you got Dalton as well. Like sort of people's feelings on Dalton.
Who
are
gets us
negative.
all hard, even Becca.
Yeah, but generally, most people if you say what is the best Bond, Dalton's always the lower end.
Yeah, he's a
Which
complete
is-
newcomer at that point.
Oh, I
wasn't
see
he?
what
So-
you mean. Sorry, yeah.
So
yeah,
when people
sorry.
think of License to Kill and Living Daylights, they don't think that. They think more of them in more negative way, or yeah.
Like
it
George
was-
Lazenby,
it's
clearly made
yeah,
one.
it was okay.
And
Yeah.
also, if this series was ever in trouble, it was after License to Kill, because of its not only the long gap and all the legal stuff, but its US gross for that film was anemic. So and it's like Martin Campbell came along with a sort of soft reboot and saved the series, if you like, quote unquote. So.
But it's a bit like Doctor Who. I think had we just had another, Dalton did his 3rd in '91 and perhaps a 4th in '94. I don't know if we still have Bond now. It's like the Doctor Who thing. That gap possibly just revived and saved it. And they did have plans to do Dalton's third Bond film. The sets were ready to go at Pinewood, sort of autumn 1990, and then just different things fell. They were about to be built.
Japan, weren't they? Or
yes. Yeah, I mean, there's I'll plug another great book here, which I'm sure you're aware of, called Some Kind of Hero by...
I haven't read it yet.
Yes.
Oh, you've got to
Although
get
we're
it.
mates on Facebook, I haven't read his book yet.
You need to read it.
Yeah, AJ Chowdhury and Matthew Field, they have a chapter that outlines in great, delicious detail what might have happened for Dalton's third Bond film in the script, the people that were writing it. I mean, some of it's like, wow, that's almost a bit Brosnan or a bit more. But yeah, I mean, and also Dalton was the Bond of choice for Eon right up until Easter '94. I remember him resigning, and then a couple of months later, it was announced that Brosnan was doing it. So
I always heard
he
that
was in.
Studio was pushing for that.
Yes, yeah, and after 6 years, that's a long time in Hollywood, certainly. So new execs come in and they don't want to know the.
I mean, certainly from a gross's perspective, and I've stayed away from money for the last few episodes because it's relevant when we get to License to Kill. I was talking about it right the way through Moonraker. I think I mentioned it afterwards when Chris asked the question, but I've stayed away from it because, frankly, between 79 and 89, it was all rather stagnant. It wasn't growing. It wasn't really doing anything. And License to Kill took in the low 150 million. And 6 years later, GoldenEye did in the mid 350 millions. So certainly from a gross's perspective, when you say the series wouldn't be surviving now, well, if it followed the pattern of the previous decade, it would carry on staying sort of unadjusted roughly where it was. And you think, well, that wouldn't be enough these days. And it took some pent-up demand. And whether you like or hate Brosnan, the sort of designated golden boy to finally get his role, to actually stimulate some interest in the series. So you might be right.
Also, these films, particularly at that time, we all look at box office charts and statistics that are written in hindsight or at the time. And, a Bond film doesn't just make its money at the cinema. That's one of the big wedges of its financial output. But at that time, TV deals, cable deals, VHS deals, there was a lot of revenue being made from Bond that wasn't perhaps obvious. As I say, they weren't losing money on Bond films, even sort of in '89.
None of their films have done badly. It's all relative, isn't it? But I mean, it must be concerning for Eon that you've got Moonraker doing circa 210 million worldwide. A decade later, you've got License to Kill doing, I think it was about 151. And I think it took about 30 in the United States, which was shocking for a Bond film, although it did have incredible competition that year. And then you've got Dalton, who, because Bond has changed because Roger Moore has completely changed the paradigm of what Bond should be. So many of the reviews of Dalton's were, well, it's too brutal. Where's his sense of humour? Where's the quips? They must have thought it's possible we've got a dying series here.
Yes. Yeah. It's the whole I mean, the book, Some Kind of Hero, does go into immense, delicious detail about the legalities of it. Yes, Dalton didn't land in America, to use that phrase. He didn't. The Americans didn't engage with him, and that's partly why they lost faith in it. But to compare Moonraker and License to Kill is slightly wrong, because Moonraker was made in a very different era, different budgets, cost what it cost, but was also a massive gamble. And there's some, I know Mexico gave production problems to Eon and the crew, but it was a smaller production, and often with Eon, even now, it's about the process. It's about going out on the road with the circus and filming it. Yes, they want to make money. They don't have to make money though. As a company, their finances are quite secure, so they can breathe and perhaps do a License to Kill that's a little more low key and suggest we're gonna tap into the Miami Vice 15 rated crowd and try and up the ante. It may not have worked, but it showed that the series could do it.
I don't know if that was necessarily in and of itself the problem, although the US gross would have bothered them, because certainly more than now, foreign grosses were not as relevant because quite often you would sell them off to sort of spread the risk. So when people say, well, why is the United States gross so important? It's because that's pure profit by comparison. But I think it's more the fact that even The Living Daylights, which was a big increase over this film, is still only doing Octopussy money, which is in turn only about The Spy Who Loved Me money.
But that's still quite a lot of money.
It is still quite a lot of money. No one is going to paint that as a flop. But it's a series that once ruled the world. In the mid-'60s, this series ruled the world. And there must be a feeling that this is stagnating somewhat.
Well,
and the reviews as well are highlighting that Dalton isn't quite hitting the public consciousness at the time.
Well, I think that the break, I stand by that, the break came at a brilliant time. It wasn't brilliant for Eon. It
wasn't brilliant for Dalton and Dalton fans.
No.
Yeah.
The whole Eon setup had to sort of go into limbo for that time and do, fight in the courts for the very future of Bond and also the very heritage of it. That all these TV rights sold at a sort of bargain basement price by, nefarious then alleged MGM bigwigs.
Just to interject there, we'll cover that when we get to GoldenEye because I think a lot of people in passing, and I thought this myself, thought that the 6-year sort of interregnum, if you like, was all due to the Kevin McClory thing. It's not.
No.
And we'll cover it when we get to GoldenEye because we'll explain why there's a gap and all the rest of it. Yeah. But yeah, Mark is absolutely right. It was all to do with the cheap selling off of TV rights. There
was a lot of factors. I mean, even things like Pinewood being in slight jeopardy financially, and that was forever facing closure in that period as well. Lots of factors. It's sad, sadly.
I think we're coming up to.
I think we're getting some real insights from On a View to a Kill here from Mark.
Well, to be fair, we are talking over like the boring bit of the film. Really, I think
it's feeling like Donald Trump origin movie at the moment, isn't it?
It is pretty much with the hair and
Although I don't think he'd have a.
I don't think he'd have a
lady of colour as his wife.
Yeah.
No, apart from that part.
Oh, he loves Mexicans. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I do love all this stuff, this Chamonix stuff, and the whole. Even the Four Seasons. I've got a love of nostalgia for this film.
It's a really pretty film.
It looks absolutely stunning.
I think there's an in-joke there with that painting. I'm probably wrong here. I don't think it's the painting that Dr. No has.
I was just going to say, which had been stolen at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've never noticed it until you said the words in-joke, and I looked up and thought, I know what he's about to say.
Yeah.
So now we know.
And I would defend Sir Roger on this. He's doing a lot of spying and being quite resourceful in this film. He's using the air from some tyres to breathe underwater. There's a lot of making up.
Spycraft, isn't there?
He did that for real.
Absolutely, yes, of course.
No, seriously. He said on the commentary that people have said to him over the years, that's ridiculous, you can't breathe air from a tyre.
You really did?
And he said, well, it must be possible because I actually did.
Yeah.
Because he's such a stuntman, as we know.
That's one thing
this guy always looks like he's wearing age makeup. This guy always looks like he's like a 30-year-old. They've just plunged a load of old age makeup. But I think this. I think this.
He just feels like he's like he was like literally walked off set of Indiana Jones film.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Mr. Jones.
I mean, he's
that was after he looked into the Ark.
He is.
Yeah.
Now look back.
Bob Canley.
I kind of think we've seen him. Have we seen him in a previous Bond movie?
He's in Never Say Never Again.
That's the one. That's the one.
So no, we haven't.
No.
but genuinely,
technically, no, we haven't.
I, as much as I'm sort of fairly harsh on later Roger Moore, I said this in review. I think he looks better in this film, and is better in this film than in Octopussy. I think it might be that slight facelift he had.
Well, he had that mole removed, didn't he?
He did. When we watched this obviously the week after Octopussy for review, and he looked in better shape, and he looked a little bit younger. And add that to the nostalgia I have for this film, I had a much better time with it.
Rose-tinted spectacles.
Yeah, I think so. I would admit that, though.
I mean, he's having a good time with it as well.
He's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Connery in You Only Live Twice, everyone says he looks bored, but I think there's a slight relief to it. He's relaxing a bit, and he certainly is in Diamonds Are Forever because he doesn't have to do it. He's just chosen to do it for the cash and the
He's doing
charity.
it for the paycheck, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a
absolutely.
slightly different opinion there. I would agree with you on You Only Live Twice, only in as much as I think he's out of shape in that film, and I don't think the film's particularly well written. So he is one of the negatives in it, but at the same time, he's totally dialed into his own performance. I don't think he's bad in it at all. When you get to Diamonds Are Forever, a lot of people say he's phoning it in. I don't actually agree with that. I think he's making an effort, but something about the way he is in that film, he comes off as a right misanthrope. And when you compare that to, like, Never Say Never Again, like or hate the film, as a much older man, he gave a much better performance. I don't like him much in
Here's the bit
Diamonds
where Roger Moore comes across as a creepy bastard.
He does look a bit creepy in this
this
scene,
is a
unfortunately.
brilliant scene. We had this music played at our wedding on a violin. This Why Miss
I didn't
Daisy
realise you were
music.
married, Mark. Cool.
Yes,
You
yeah.
played this.
Well, the thing is that
Yeah.
like the music in this film, I said this in review, like the music in the film is one of the best things in this.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, I love the score and the music,
beautiful.
definitely.
Like the score, like Barry does in this, is absolutely amazing, and he does the same thing again next week. I will mention that. But
Yes, indeed.
but yeah, I think the actual slow romantic take on the Duran Duran song is it just really like sells.
It's quite
it.
relaxing. It's quite
Yeah.
relaxing as well to listen to. Very soothing.
I could totally put the score of this on
Absolutely.
and listen to it and really enjoy it.
Definitely.
It's as good a score, I think, as on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is such a rich piece of work.
Well, as much as I probably wouldn't quite agree just because I love the Majesty score, I can totally see what you mean. If I divorce it from my love for the film, Chris noted the parallels on the score with this and Majesty's when we reviewed it, and he's right. It is a big highlight of his
Like,
career.
the main action theme in this is like I kind of want it to come back. I kind of wish they just used it more, like as like kind of like not like the Bond theme, but as like we'll bring it back occasionally because I think it's just so good. It's just you know.
You don't hear it enough, do you?
Yeah, the whole rambling kind of like sort of adventurer kind of thing with the guitar breaking it. It's like it just sounds so fucking great. And so,
Now, I don't know if Cubby was a big racehorse fan and loved horses, and he owned a few as well. And that was why they had the whole horse thing. And he knew Patrick Macnee was I think Patrick Macnee's father was a jockey or something, and that was partly
He had
the
it in his
reason
family, didn't he?
to bring Tibbet in. Yeah, I love all this.
We
There's
love.
one sort of-
Joking aside, I make fun of it because of their ages.
There is a
But I
velour
love
tracksuit
these
thing
two.
going on. You're right on that. I heard you say
I
that.
love these two. I think it's brilliant.
I'd love to see like another movie of them or a TV series. Obviously, we won't get it in real life, but that would have been amazing. I'd happily watch that. After being a fan of Macnee and the Avengers, obviously. So
Well, when I went to see Roger Moore in November, he was talking about, and you've seen him live, Becca, so you've probably heard this as well, because I imagine
Yeah.
he tells much the same stories. And
Yeah.
he was talking about when he was filming, I think it was The Saint, they were on the next stage over from the Avengers filming. So
Yes.
they were around each other all the time, and I kind of think you can tell that.
yeah,
I don't
there's a
think,
camaraderie there.
unless you are supreme actors, which, let's be honest, they aren't. And I don't mean that to be nastily. I'm talking about like some of the best actors in the world, and they're not. You cannot fake that kind of camaraderie. I think it's great.
You can tell they're good buddies outside. So
Yeah, absolutely.
this scene really annoys me because there's one particular bit where they obviously announce their presence. It's like obviously they're spies and they're meant to be doing it covertly, and they just
Tibbet's not actually a spy. He's just like, yeah, I'll come with you. He's just someone that M knows.
He's MI6's horse expert or something. I think he's their resident jockey.
You need
That's the
one.
one.
You never know when you're going to need.
horse expert in bungee.
They've got a room full of people. I mean, they've got a snooker expert who's done fuck all in 50 odd
snooker
years so far, just in case there's a big plot at the Crucible.
Yeah.
We never know, folks.
Mr. Scapin.
Scarpine. He's quite mysterious. You don't know too much about him. But how did he get his massive scar by a chance?
The set design in this, even though it's not Ken Adam, and we'll come back to Ken Adam, there's something a bit Moonraker about parts of this.
Or like sneaking around, breaking into stuff.
Possibly, and it's an old mansion, isn't it? It's probably that. But I think Roger Moore and Patrick Macnee are now at the age that you can't send like Stamper to fight them. You've got to send Big Ron from EastEnders.
Yes.
This is Big Ron.
Give it a couple more years and they would have sent like Onslow from Keeping Up Appearances.
Oh. Oh dear.
I'm trying to think
getting
which
into the
one
film now,
Onslow
and,
is. You know.
I do like all this because it's not just microchips and blowing up Silicon Valley. They they let us into the story through the horse thing. There's a sort of ABC linear point to what they're doing here. I do like all this sort of horse microchip stuff. I don't understand how microchip. All right, I suppose it releases.
Well, if it's a delivery method, I said in review it would make more sense if it was adrenaline. Because if I took a syringe full of steroids now, if my understanding is correct and it might be wrong, I wouldn't be any faster immediately. But what it would do to my recovery times and ability to train.
Such a rookie error mistake in that, isn't it?
Yeah, that is really.
Sorry to interrupt you guys, but yeah, that's what annoys me.
Yeah, sure. Roger
he was in a rush.
He doesn't normally have that problem, does he? Put it in the wrong car.
He was too busy enjoying how fashionable he was.
You're right, Chris. He doesn't.
Sorry.
And I always love a Bond film where the villain's got a great logo, and there's a lot of Zorin Industry things here, and the Drax, and I think that's been missing ever so slightly. Silver should have had a logo.
It really should have.
Oberhauser to have a logo.
Well, we just see obviously the Spectre logo, don't we?
Industries.
Oh,
yeah, I was going to say that would give it
enough.
away
Yeah,
slightly because they kept that secret so well.
Oberhauser Inc.
Yeah.
I think aside from Spectre, Bond needs to, and Quantum obviously, but I think Bond needs to go up against a really nasty organisation that has a really cool logo.
Yeah,
the whole. You could have done something with a clock and time. Yeah, you could have done. Look at that for a fist fight. Bond's
Big Ron.
Roger's hand was at least within a foot of his face when he threw it.
And is this like the Bond's version of the Wilhelm scream, where the same sound effect of someone being sort of stuck in a suitcase is used here in other Bond films?
And just like sort of let him put it back down again.
I'll
just lie down for you. There you are.
Yes. Yeah.
Not his hat off.
Actually, God, McNee looks a bit like Liberace there.
Really? We were talking about
we were talking
about in Never Say Never Again how when she tries to kill Bond, Fatima Blush, she looked like General Zod from the waist down and Liberace from the waist up.
This is the pool room at Pinewood, which was our green room at our wedding.
Oh, wow, okay.
We recognised
You got married at Pinewood, Mark?
We did, yeah.
Lucky you.
Statue at the back, I thought, where have we seen that statue? And someone said, I think it's in A View to a Kill. I said, what? A View to Kill filmed where we're getting married? Really? I don't believe it.
Wow.
But it turned out it was.
It's
yeah.
faked. It's
I
faked.
think when they lost the Bond stage,
essentially,
they had to go everywhere to
where you had your first dance is the same place where this happened. Where Christopher Walken and Grace Jones had a little...
Yes, no, that's not even a joke. That is true, yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
The fountain didn't work, though. But yeah, we were in that. And actually, the next room. But
best day ever.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, crazy day.
And it's the most mixed match couple in the world, aren't they? Really.
I love it. That he's supposed to be genetically enhanced, and you think, well, you're not that smart. The one time you have a fight, you get your ass handed to you by a woman. I'm not convinced what all this genetic enhancement did for him.
But I love it's like Ebony and Ivory. It's just such a contrast. It can only have been created in a petri dish.
Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney doing this.
Well, only one of them can see it. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, too soon.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a lying bastard, Stevie Wonder. Lately, I've been looking in the mirror. Really?
Anyway, moving on.
Yes, yeah, back to Chateau and
back to this epic stunt.
I'm surprised that velour tracksuit doesn't catch fire with all that friction.
No, I was just looking about that. It was the heat, after all.
That's clearly
right.
Look at that.
Yes.
That was painful.
Yeah, but that wasn't right. It's just
no.
And as Chris pointed out, you going, yeah, we best get back. The tape ran out half an hour ago.
Bad timing.
You got that slightly wrong.
Yeah, she's finally clicked. She didn't notice the man chasing her up the Eiffel Tower with a gun.
No,
to be fair, it was about 5 different men.
She's had 20 minutes to figure that out.
I don't mind Grace Jones in this film. She was hard work. I mean, you talked about Bowie not being in it. There was this realization that rock stars don't like to get up early to get to set, and Grace Jones allegedly never got up early and got to set. It was quite a problem, and that hacked off Roger Moore immensely. And this scene, you must know the anecdote of this scene.
I know the anecdote that she's got a dildo hanging between her legs. It's one of the reasons they cut a few frames, because it briefly sort of swung into shot. But he does well to keep a straight face here. I'm saying he's not a very good actor. He must be tremendous if there's a dildo hanging from him. But the thing is, when you...
Oh, yeah, I think it's in his
Roger's
face
a
there.
nice man,
You can see it.
because Roger's a nice man, in his various books he said, my mother said, if you can't think of anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, so I'll leave it. So he doesn't say anything about Grace Jones. So apart from that one anecdote, which he sort of hints at and you could figure it out, I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about what she was like to work with on this film.
I think, from what I heard, I think it might have been a Barbara Broccoli suggestion, and then Barbara was charged with looking after her and making sure she'd turn up on time, which wasn't always a successful mission. But I think the results are great. I mean, I love the poster, the back-to-back poster. It's as 80s to me as Ghostbusters poster or, Marty McFly looking at his watch. It's a really striking image.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I went to one of the things I was saying, and I'm very keen not to start giving it the good old days, because that's always a really bollocks notion, actually. But some things are more interesting. You think of cinemas now, the sound's better, the seats are better. There's so much to be said for the modern experience. But the one thing I'll say is, as a kid, they did a little bit more to sort of hype up the excitement. And when I was the first film I ever saw in the cinema was Superman 2, huge cutout of Christopher Reeve. It's a cardboard cutout, doesn't mean a bloody thing really, but as a 4-year-old, it's like, wow. And when I went to see A View to a Kill in a very large sort of screen one at the cinema we had at the time down here, there were those cardboard cutouts of Grace Jones and Roger Moore, but separated from each other and put either side of the screen. Yeah. And I'm sat here nearly 31 years later remembering that. And I don't think cinemas really do that now. I do remember the sort of hype around this film quite a lot.
Yes.
And of course the song was a hit, which helped.
Yeah, I remember the Smith's Crisps tokens. It was quite geared at kids, a lot of the merchandise or the poster art was. So I'm starting to watch it now. You shouldn't have invited me.
I think we're going to have this problem when we watch License to Kill. Me and Dave just going to be like...
Yeah, we're not going to be doing any commentary. We'll just be watching the movie because it's so good.
I love License to Kill, but there are actually... If you can forget your ego and the fact that knocking a film or making fun of it doesn't mean you don't like it, there's actually plenty to take the piss out of in License to Kill.
Like Tim's Bouffant hair, for one.
Yeah, and the hand signals and the wait, there are too many people and there's no one there, and yeah.
Now, while it's still on screen, because it's about to not be on screen for much longer, Cub One, the car, that was the car my grandfather drove for Cubby.
That one?
Yeah.
Yes, this one on screen now.
Yeah, that was.
I was just about to say, actually.
My grandfather.
There's O'Connell DNA in that car on screen.
It was my wedding. It was my uncle's wedding car. I don't know quite what happened there.
You said my wedding, and I'd said DNA, and I'm thinking I don't want to know what went on in that. Yeah,
it's a beautiful car. If you ever get to the Bond in Motion exhibition, it's one of the centerpieces that you see as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, so we went there for before the Spectre premiere, and obviously that's what. It wasn't there, obviously, because Barbara and Michael were arriving.
It's Barbara's tradition to arrive at the premiere in that car.
Yes.
And they hoisted it out. I actually did ask...
She's a ninja, Grace Jones.
Yes, yeah, good point, yeah.
She's amazing.
Back there. But we asked for that car for our wedding, and it was looked into, but it just wasn't practical. I think maybe getting out of the premiere was enough that year, sadly.
Oh, that's a shame.
My granddad used to look after the car. It's in the book a lot. He literally would do overnight vigils in his sort of West London suburban cul-de-sac, making sure the naughty youths weren't going to scratch it overnight.
I remember reading about that, actually. Yeah, I was going to say, I think if you had a car like that, you would be proud of it, I think. So you would need to look after it.
Are you still in touch with any of the current sort of Bond crew?
Yes, little bits, yes.
Because, I mean, I've seen photos of you with Barbara and all the rest of it. Do you still have any sort of friendship there, or...?
In fact, more so, sort of, with the book, it did sort of reignite the sort of channels of chat, and which is nice. And I'm trying to be sort of circumspect here, but yes, it has, and it.
No, I understand.
No, that's fine. Don't worry.
No. When my grandfather died, there was sort of 4 family members, and Barbara and a few Eon faces turned up, and it was a really surreal day. Just literally going to the local pub with no plans and just spending all afternoon sort of celebrating my grandfather, but talking with Barbara and the other guys at Eon as well.
And they remembered him genuinely, yes?
Oh yes, yeah. We didn't expect them to sort of arrive. Really.
Well, it's just, I mean, Roger says on his commentaries that Cubby loved his crew and looked after them and fed them and all the rest of it. Now, whilst I don't doubt that for a second, the perspective of the main man in the series might not be the same as like a chauffeur or one of the cleaners or something like that. So I'm just interested to know if like your grandfather's perspective was the same. Absolutely, it was. More so. In fact, my grandfather, we really had to prize out any sort of stories from him, and I wish I'd been more sort of fervent in getting the stories out of him, because he was deeply quiet and private about it, which is probably what you want from a chauffeur in that sort of must come with
context.
the show. Yeah, must come with the game.
Yeah.
And they looked after him as well to the day he died. In fact, he wanted to retire circa Spy Who Loved Me, and Cubby had this great line where he said, "You're younger than me. If I can still produce the movie, then you can still drive that car, and I'll let you work out the language." And he made sure my granddad stayed on. They looked after him, and right to the day he died. And
He
they
wanted
didn't have to as well.
Cubby wanted
lovely.
the people around him he liked and trusted, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because no disrespect to your granddad, but like there are a lot of chauffeurs around. You could have somebody else,
and
but
they had other chauffeurs.
he
in
wanted
fact.
the people he liked and trusted.
Absolutely, yeah. And my grandfather was there to take an infant Barbara to from Heathrow Airport when she was very young, and I think from that point on there was a trust.
Because it was his daughter as a baby. He was very much a family man, Cubby Broccoli, as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, they still are. They still are. There's a deep family set up there, and not just biological family members, but people and their grandkids and their nieces and their in-laws. The sort of 6 degrees of separation and Eon is quite small, actually.
Well, yeah, because like Greg Wilson is now getting involved and so on. So.
But it's the things like John Glenn's wife was Cubby's secretary in the early 80s, and that's how he sort of found love through the office secretary.
Okay,
That's amazing, isn't it? It's an amazing
so
story.
it's literally his money penny.
Yeah,
Quite literally, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, but he probably didn't go off and shag loads of other women in between.
No.
No.
Didn't like enter the office each day with throw his hat on door pegs like, "Oh, money penny, I'll sure take you on a date." And
Once I've got rid of the syphilis, yeah. So the one thing, as I say, not having read all of the book yet. So did your granddad sort of just? Did he just drive Cubby in Britain? Did he go around the world with the production, or was it just a Pinewood thing?
Jimmy was notorious for hating leaving sort of South London. He did go to Switzerland, and we think that was on Her Majesty's Secret Service. He did go abroad once, and he was also invited quite a few times by Cubby to house sit, Cubby's Beverly Hills house. And my granddad would go there for sort of 6 weeks, and God knows what he did, because we've seen where the house was. So I was like, this isn't a very grandparent-friendly part of the world, although it's a very opulent part of the world. So yes, he would also look after Barbara and Tina. Tina's Barbara's sister, and he would look after the kids a lot and house sit, babysit, childmind. So yeah, he was always more than a chauffeur, but that was always the sort of official context.
So what do you think of? I came this on a review. What happened before with the old attempt on Bond's life with the horse race chase? What is Owen's objectives there? like he's got this load of goons to beat him up, while at the same time being competitive while cheating on this horse race. I kind of like, well, what's the point? What's the?
He's psychotic. It doesn't have to be explained, but no, I know.
No, he's mental.
See what you mean? Yeah, he's a nut case.
Yeah,
That's how you explain everything. Pretty much, he's a nutter.
He's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's Christopher Walken, I suppose. So.
And what a waste, chucking a Rolls Royce in a lake in Staines.
Disgraceful. It's obviously not in France.
And being a typical Bond film, they just bought another Rolls Royce. They didn't drown Cubby's car, but they just bought a replica and pulled that under.
They're Bond doing the spycraft like we asked earlier.
Yeah,
But
kind of a cheap version
I've
of it.
often, as much as I sort of agree with Chris that John Glenn was very good at action, if that is indeed John Glenn, because I know a lot of it is second unit, but there does seem to be a lot of very, very well shot action during the John Glenn era. One of the things I was always totally, his direction's a bit flat, a bit workmanlike, and whether that's true or not, a couple of his films are properly beautiful, and I think this is one of them.
He's
This is a very, very attractive film to look at. And the thing is, I don't know if it's a restoration or not, because I know Lowry did a lot of the early ones. But I think this is better looking than the couple that preceded it, just in terms of how well the transfer looks now.
There's a lot of home counties. I love that sort of home counties like here. Like, I know it's Ascot, pretending to be somewhere else.
Dolph Lundgren.
It is Dolph
And
Lundgren.
Gogol standing up and not getting a blowjob at the same time. It's historic.
This is his last major role, though, isn't it? Of
Doesn't he appear?
he does appear next week, but that's it. He's kind of brief.
But it is, yeah. But basically, Pushkin is there because he wasn't well enough. Is that right, Mark?
I have no idea. I would imagine they wanted to go with Walter Gotell, but yeah, possibly. Sometimes
Brent's-
people just aren't available as well.
I thought it was he wasn't well enough, so they did a little bit of a rewrite and had John restate,
Yeah, very possibly.
and then they got Gogol. But it's been a running joke through our films that Gogol likes a good sit down,
You don't see him standing up much during the film.
and we do think he's a bit of a womanizer. We're just making that as an assumption.
Well, you two do.
He's both.
Well,
He's
no, he
both.
clearly is, because he's literally like
Rubovich,
every time he's like, there's a woman, there's always got scenes like there. He's got a female
It's a
secretary.
secretary.
Yeah.
And he has great sort of bedwear that matches his phones as well in Spy Who Loved Me. He's got like great orange pyjamas that matches the orange.
With a bright
phone.
orange phone.
Yeah.
This is a bit scary.
I do like, I call it in the book, I call it the Universal Exports years, that sort of 77 to 89 era where you had the returning ensemble, the repertory of Walter Gotell and Robert Brown, and I love all that. Yes, it couldn't carry on like that forever, and I like these Ascot scenes earlier where the older crew are going to Ascot. I don't have a problem with it. As a 9-year-old watching the film, I never thought they were too old or Roger Moore was too old.
This is a great scene. I bothered it.
Yeah.
Makes no
I
sense.
think the whole too old thing is something that comes with
Age.
growing up and
Yeah.
developing critical faculties. Because I saw this in cinema. I hadn't yet turned 9. I'm about a year younger than Mark. So I was 8 years old, and at no point did I think, "Who's that old man?" But go forward 4 or 5 years, and I was like, "Yeah, he was well too old, wasn't he?" So it's a bit of a rum gift, a sort of these critical faculties that come to you, because before they do, everything's amazing. You know.
It's like growing up with, Pierce Brosnan being Bond and everything, and now kind of looking back at GoldenEye, and you sort of think, oh my god, he looks so young,
Yeah.
And now he's mid-60s or something now, and
Yeah, I saw a bit of Quantum of Solace the other night on TV, and I thought, God, Craig looks about 11 in it. It's sort of
yeah, he looks so
weird
young.
how
He's like a much
time-
Tina Royale.
And that's literally how many years was that between that and Skyfall?
4.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the space of 4 years, jeez. And Skyfall, yeah, he looks
It annoys
awful.
me I couldn't done another one between that and Skyfall. That's like,
Well, Craig is still the same age Roger Moore was when he did Spy Who Loved Me, so there's still a lot of hope.
He's
Yeah,
younger,
definitely.
actually. He's a little bit younger, but yeah. It's, I think it's, I think, don't forget, there was only a 2-year gap between Casino and Skyfall. So, and Quantum. So everyone focuses on the 4-year gap, but a 3-year gap is increasingly common now. And if it had been 3-year gaps between all of them, we'd be in exactly the same place.
Yeah.
it's just that there was like a 2-year gap between that and Quantum and Casino.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't know. I'm a bit impatient when it comes to Bond films. I kind of think when you find a good Bond, particularly,
Get them out.
just make another one, because why not?
Yeah, I think we haven't seen the end of Craig. We shall see.
No, I think we'll
I
see him
hope
again.
not. I mean, the thing with it, and I think, again, you might agree, Mark, as years go by and you go through a few Bonds, I think you start understanding and realizing that like all things must pass, and you accept
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
when around the time of The World Is Not Enough, which I liked more than you at the time and less so now. I was like, Brosnan's the best since Connery, and he's irreplaceable, and I really, really liked him. And when he was fired, sacked, mutual agreement, whichever you want to call it, but I think we all pretty much know what happened there. I was stunned. I thought, well, he's got at least one more in him. And when they cast Craig, I wasn't one of these. He's not Bond, but I was a little bit. Okay, let's wait and see. We'll see how it
Not
goes.
Brosnan.
And as soon as it wasn't even that, it was just I'm not convinced. If you watch his press conference where he's unveiled, and he's got that silly hair that he had in The Invasion, and he was very slender at that point. He hadn't bulked up at all. I wasn't convinced, and he was very awkward during his press conference as well. Not helped by there being like a Sun journalist there who kept asking stupid questions about Kate Moss and so on, and Sienna Miller, and that's just not what you asked Daniel Craig. So I wasn't sure, and now we're a few years later, and I'm like, how can they possibly replace Craig? Well, they'll do what they always do. They'll bring in another guy who will either have a really good take or a less good take, and we'll enjoy our Bond films until another guy comes
Anyway,
along.
Mark, tell us where you can't see Octopussy.
I don't think we're there yet.
I did ask Maud Adams this. I said, "Can you just clear this third film one up?" And she said she very much did visit the set. She was nearby with her husband at the time, but she did say that she never went in front of the camera. So, and it became a little bit of a publicity nugget that it sort of grew a bit. Now, that doesn't mean maybe she didn't know she was in front of the camera, but she did feel she wasn't in a take of any.
We're coming up to where I thought I saw her.
Yeah, me too.
And I'll
yes, I
point
know,
her
with
out
the
in
dark
just a second.
glasses and the...
Yeah, and the hat.
Just walking along the quay as they talk about Zorin's lineage.
It's not obviously like an obvious
That's
cameo.
a shame,
but
then, because it would have been like a really cool thing to.
she's been, only one girl to be in 3 movies.
But I thought this is coming from the octopus's mouth here. I must sort of
Yeah, to believe it.
And
faith in it.
Octopussy, your big girl crush.
It is, yes.
Hang on, here we go. There, that's where I think she is, in the tan jacket
I
there.
don't think that's Maud Adams.
Okay, fair enough.
No. Oh, that's a shame.
But yeah, Maud Adams is very clearly Roger Moore's favourite Bond girl of the ones he acted with. I think both as a human being as much as an actress.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Certainly.
Yeah, I mean, she's a very graceful, elegant, personable person. I never expected to meet her. I asked her to contribute to the book because I'm forever sort of talking about the weird, misplaced childhood crushes I had, and she responded brilliantly, and then we hooked up in LA for a little bit.
Not hooked up, he made
a
temporary lifestyle choice.
Yeah, yeah. A lovely lunch where Howard from The Big Bang Theory was at one side of us, and Daryl Hannah was behind us. It was one of those weird LA moments.
Wow.
And suddenly being sat with Maud Adams felt the sanest thing we'd done in that context, which, of course, it wasn't sane. But no, she's a lovely person. She's a great Bond ambassador as well. She really cares for the series and promotes it.
I really, I pitched my level of fame wrong there, because when you said Howard, I immediately thought from the Halifax ads.
No, Big Bang Theory.
Bang Theory.
Yeah, might be a slight
Get with
difference
the program,
in fame
Dave.
and welfare.
That's not LA. No,
They flew him out just to sit at the next table.
just to confuse people.
What happened to him? Jeez.
I can just imagine like you sat there with Maud Adams and then just like looking at was it Del Howard and Howard from Big Bang Theory and just thinking like this is crazy, isn't it? This is a bit weird, isn't it?
Well, we were there, and Daryl Hannah was opening this sandwich like it was poisoned. I remember her just tearing apart this sandwich. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent, but she was dissecting this sandwich, and I thought, that's Daryl Hannah. This is a bit weird. And then the guy from Big Bang, and when Maud turned up, that was actually the sort of point of sanity, even though there's nothing sane about going for lunch with a Bond girl from your childhood.
It's like finally I can actually talk to someone and not like a weirdo who just sat there.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. So where are we?
Yeah, so
We're back. Yes, we're under the.
See, this is another bit of the film that always like kind of loses me to some degree. I always get I always kind of lose interest a little bit And you go, oh shit, right, we're in you're underwater somewhere. Let's go, yeah.
Well, I suppose this is all for the earthquake stuff. This is Basil Exposition coming in and just sort of setting the plot up a bit. I look at that. That's no one dresses like that. Grace Jones, look at that. With her
No, nobody dresses like that these days.
Gautier snood on.
Only Grace Jones.
She is very striking. I mean, I'm not a Grace Jones fan as a artist or a person, so I'll be honest with you, but she is very effective in this film.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel she's very like Winton Kid. And what I mean by that is I'll talk to people about Diamonds Are Forever, and I will find people who say the only saving grace of that film is Winton Kid. And I'll hear people who say they ruin the film. And you hear very similar about Grace Jones. She's very, very divisive. She's very, very lover or hater.
Yeah.
Frankly, I fall into the latter camp. I think she's virtually unbearable in this film.
What is it you don't like about her?
I tell you that I think it almost comes to a couple of small factors. Firstly, the boat where she slaps herself. I just think you're trying too hard to be kooky there. But also when he's talking to Stacey on the bridge in the famous pervy scene, there's a bit where she's in shot waiting to speak, but because she's not an actress, there's no reaction acting in it at all.
Yeah, she does.
Good acting is part listening, and she's pulling like one of the most vacant expressions I've ever seen. And although that's a small part of her role in the film, as soon as I see that scene, I think, you're not a fucking actress, what are you doing here? I feel a little bit like I do when I watch VJ Armitage, but VJ Armitage is not as big a personality, so it's not quite as offensive.
I just love that she's Grace Jones. You know, she's bringing all that Warhol post Studio 54 sort of mystery about her that's a bit jagged, a bit scary, and you don't quite know what's going on. And that's for me, that's perfect for a Bond.
There's an unpredictability to her that actually serves the film quite well.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, she's a real Amazon woman, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to wind
You don't want to mess with her.
On the camera.
Well, I saw her, well, not saw her as in went to see her anywhere, but I'm sure I saw a photo of her or an interview with her or something, and it was only a year ago. And Grace Jones at that point must have been about 67. And she hasn't aged much at all. She still looks incredibly sinewy, and I wouldn't back myself in a fight with her at all.
No.
Yeah, I think she's been on Graham Norton's show a couple of times, hasn't she? I remember when she was on I think when he was back on Channel 4, and she was on his show, and I think even he was freaked out, a little bit by her. But she's just got so much presence. I mean, love or hate her.
Did you ever see her on Russell Harty?
No.
What was that? Is that the interview from? Way back?
Go look at it. Go look it up. It's got to be on YouTube. Go and look up Grace Jones on Russell Harty. Mm-hmm. It's cringe making.
Oh, I think Grace Jones is amazing.
She pretty much beats him up.
So do I.
I think that's the reason why, one main reason why I don't like her. It's like you can clearly see. I mean, obviously it's bad setup, but don't beat the guy because he has to like talk to the guy to turn. Don't turn your back on me. Well, what do you want me to? Like face you and talk to him. Like
no, it's just awkward, isn't it?
It's just like read the situation. Don't be that much of a fucking bell end and just like. I'm just make a name for you. It's just, no, I just don't like that type
I think we've got Fiona Fullerton.
Am I right? Mark, are you aware of the theory this should have been Barbara Bach?
Yeah, that's the anecdote. Yeah, that she was asked to come back and it was written for her, but it never happened. I like Fullerton in this. She was good casting. She was a sort of famous, nearly famous sort of British child star in the 70s. Did a lot of period stuff and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So she was quite apt casting at the time, and she was married to Simon Corkindale, who was almost, I think, a Bond in waiting. I don't know if ever
Manimal.
But
yeah.
Manimal. I thought that was like a big thing when I was a kid. Actually, when you look it up now, it only ran about 13 episodes. Becca, you ever heard of Manimal?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
I've never heard of it.
Look it up. I only picked on Becca there because she's the youngest of the three of us. So I thought if there was one of us who hadn't seen it or heard of it, it would be her.
That's it. But no, as soon as you said his name, Mark, I was like, that name sounds familiar, and I was like, oh yes, But yeah, I never knew that. Oh, how about that?
He
And obviously she was in
died,
Strictly a while
died
ago.
a couple of years ago. So-
Oh, very sad.
We went to Japantown when we were in San Francisco last, and we worked out that that's where the Nippon Spa was, and it was someone's house, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That must have been quite rude. Them two just going and fucking in someone's house.
It's an onsen, but not what you think. Yeah. I have to go there again. I think last time I went there was like early
haven't.
2000s. I must go again.
You've both been there, have you? I haven't been there.
Not recently. I feel really bad because like if somebody
What do you mean not recently? That makes it sound like everyone's been loads, haven't they?
And it's one of those things like, well, a guy that I'm sure we all follow like on Facebook as well went to New York and it's like, I last went there nearly 10 years ago. I must go again. It's like, ah. Oh,
Luke.
I love this. Yeah, Luke.
Luke.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
His globe-trotting escapades is amazing. Oh.
Yeah, but we know someone a bit closer to home who went there not that long ago.
Yeah, we do exactly. Hint, hint, Chris.
What? Sorry.
Anyway, the bubble stick on my
He's been
Tchaikovsky
distracted by Fiona Fullerton
and the bubbles.
and her Tchaikovsky.
Yeah,
I love the best line in the whole film. I love it.
that was our question, wasn't it? When she said she'd been on Strictly, and I said, "Did you see her Tchaikovsky when she did a particularly big move?"
Keeping both her Mozarts under the bubbles there.
I don't know. I always think of Man with Golden Gun with this bit. Is this because it's sort of something like in Chinatown or something? It's just weird.
Mm.
I have to see that out because like the last couple of years, I don't know why, but I've turned into a bit of like Japanophile. So like I must go back to San Fran and
It's a lovely little
The best
Peter Lamont
squid
set.
I've ever had was in Chinatown in San Francisco.
Yummy. Yeah, I've got quite used to squid. I'm like, yeah. I think it's an
I
acquired
love
taste.
squid, but
It's an acquired
it is a
taste.
bit- the number of people I've known in life and girlfriends and all the rest of it who won't go near squid, they just the thought of it just makes them gag.
And that I can understand, but the squid I had at this Chinese restaurant was just
You got to
like,
try it, I think, haven't you?
Oh, I love
yeah,
it.
It was like as tender as chicken. It was like, I'm like, this is like one of the tastiest things I've ever had in my life.
It was
amazing.
chicken. They're thinking it's a foreigner. He won't know.
Yeah, I did wonder that, but no, it was well, whatever it was fucking delicious.
Yeah, I even ate both the wings.
So they got the wrong tape, and one's got the right one with all the same.
That's for overacting. I really like What a Hotel, but that was a real 70s sitcom look.
I was like,
That was a bit 70s double.
And Roger
Sitcom
in
double
his
take.
80s kimono.
I bet that's not even his hands.
How can we make it look more masculine?
Oh, dear.
City Hall.
So,
Damn,
Mark,
well,
where do you
that's
rate Stacey Sutton in this movie then?
She's in the movie, yes. I
Put you on the
don't
spot.
mind her. They could have had stronger casting. Priscilla Presley was approached but couldn't do it at the last minute,
Oh, really?
so they had to recast.
Nice
Yeah.
beaver.
That would have
Yeah.
been a sort of different
That would have been
dynamic.
amazing.
I don't mind her in it. She
Reminded
got
me
the
of
worst
my mother, alright?
in Bond film. There's a sort of anecdote here about the then mayor of San Francisco, Dianne Feinstein, who's now quite high up in the sort of American political system. She was the mayor of San Francisco, and they'd had a really horrible massacre. Well, it wasn't a massacre; it was a shooting of George Moscone and Harvey Milk, who was
Oh, no.
their first gay local politician. And they wanted. They was also going through the AIDS crisis. San Francisco was having a bit of a bad time, and they thought, let's try and invite the Bond film. So they gave quite carte
Of course, I
blanche
didn't
to
think of
Javier
that.
Leon.
San Francisco had a really
And, the
rough
whole,
time in the
yeah,
mid-80s.
the whole
didn't
film
it?
was opened out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I've always got this weird observation that the worst thing that happened at City Hall was two people who worked there were shot. So they invite a film crew in to do their film, and what happens in the film? One of their
They shoot the
staff
mayor.
is shot.
Get shot, yeah.
It's a bit odd, but San Francisco's really brilliant in this film, and they had a great time there, and the world premiere was held there as well.
Yeah, rightly so. Rightly so. Yeah, it's a real character in the movie as well, as we were talking about earlier.
It's always nice to see Bond in like modern urban atmosphere as well.
Absolutely, yes. That's missing from the Craig films, actually. I'd love Craig to sort of end up in Washington or Barcelona,
be
or
so
somewhere
cool.
that's a bit busy and sort of bustling.
Yeah, rather than in the middle of nowhere, like he has
Well,
in
London.
the films.
Yeah.
There's always that. He's in
Yeah,
London.
we could spend more time in London as well.
We went to this house
He's had
as
too
well.
much time in London in the last couple of years. You've
Yeah.
been to this house?
We have, yeah, we did, yeah. It's actually a heritage house, and it hasn't changed at all from back in '85. It's like a
Okay.
private residence. We just went there one day and parked up.
Is it a
up
home
the
though?
drive.
Is it used
No,
as a
it's
home?
you can hire it for weddings and conferences
wow.
and things.
So there you go. You must have a group trip to San Fran and do all these locations.
I may have gone to that window and taken out a credit card.
Good for you.
Didn't get in though.
Yeah, it was rejected by the window.
Rejected. Declined, sir.
He was
I'm
over
sure
his
it's
credit
contactless
limit.
now.
Contact us, yeah.
Yeah, he just held it for
Just swipe
about
it.
each way.
You get home and like, oh, my money's gone. Where's it gone? That's one of those things. You're in the area. You got to do it. You're a Bond fan. It's got to be done.
I know a lot of people say Roger Moore's terribly too old for Tanya Roberts in this film, and on paper he might be, and on
Yeah, they
film
play
he
it
could
quite
be as well.
realistic though.
But yeah, if you think about it, this is the third film in as many films where Bond's got a Bond girl who's protecting her father's legacy, and he's sort of feels like almost like the executive to the will or something. And Octopussy in this film, I do think he's not utterly going for the blonde grope just yet. Anyway,
That's later on.
Yeah, so it's interesting with Octopussy because you've got the personal connection, obviously because of who her father is. But I think here, yeah, there's a fine line. It doesn't
although
touch on
Roger
it.
Moore's he does this in every film, pushes the bathroom door open to see a shower going on.
Or Octopus door.
It's a contract thing.
It's in his contract.
I would sign one of those.
I always like that that Roger Moore sort of like move to the gun underneath his jacket. He's very slick with that.
It's very smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, Spycraft. That massive chandelier that she has, why didn't she just sell that?
True.
Can't sell everything.
Was she going to have to pay off all the debts with that? Oh, jeez. Oh, reaction shot.
It's rock salt. It's like really unconvincing.
Spoiler alert.
Well, come on, it's not really convincing, is it? Really?
No.
It's like you think, hang on, where's all the blood and?
Yeah, you think, hold on,
I mean,
nobody's getting
the
injured.
first guy literally jumped off the roof rather than like fell off.
Oh, I survived. Oh. Oh, we've got a bit of blood on him. And that guy looks like he's wearing a wig. But
Yes,
he's probably not.
Definitely wearing a wig.
It's that sort of thing is like probably be used again later on, so you don't recognise him.
Yeah, 2 roles, Man 1 and Thug 2.
Well, it's not the trope of like there's a fist fight and a valuable vase. We must try and protect. Well, it's not a vase, but you must try and protect the valuable thing. And then the end of this goes like, oh fuck it.
Less cautious than Moonraker.
Yeah. Oh, Stacey, you're so rubbish. Sorry, I don't.
She's not a fan.
I know. I'm sorry. No, she holds her own at certain points during the film.
Does she?
Well, without her, Bond wouldn't be able to get into the mine. But apart from that,
Well, so what you're basically saying is they wrote something for the character to do.
pretty much.
The
I don't
actress
say.
didn't really hold her own. It's a bit of a push.
he's up there with these
for
Richards.
actress, actually. One thing I will say, she does have stunningly striking eyes.
Mm.
And I think
I'm
Roger
not
mentioned
using
that as
incredibly
well.
good looking.
Acting ability.
Yeah, I mean, she's good looking, full stop, but her eyes really, really do stand out. And I think Roger mentioned that about the first time he saw her. He just was struck by her eyes and how piercing they are in real life.
That said, Roger's got quite sort of striking.
Roger's
eyes for
got
this.
great eyes.
Yeah, he's quite striking.
I don't know. I don't know. If it's just like his wrinkly face now, but the eyes are proper coming out.
Oh, kitty.
And that's the Great British Bake Off.
It is. We can get quiche.
Quiche a la Rog.
I'd love to see Roger go on Bake Off. That'd be amazing.
It's an omelette.
Yes.
We'll have a Bond Bake Off. Get various Bond alumni on to have a go. There you go, BBC. That's an idea for you.
I can just imagine calling Sean Connery or his agent up and saying, "Would you like to come and cook a fucking flan on Bake Off?" and just waiting to see what his response would be. Or Daniel for that.
The
Or
Battle
Daniel
of the
for that matter.
Bonds. All over again.
Get them all, get them all on Bake Off. Jeez, Great British Bond Bake Off.
So you get like Roger, Sean, and Pierce.
You can get Sean in. Jeez.
That's
Actually,
what
no, I actually get George in because what the fuck's he doing now?
Poor George.
He'll be glad the attention. He'll be like, yeah. Oh.
Or Celebrity Big Brother. Just put them in a house.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, Celebrity Bond Big Brother.
Christ, if they were as successful as their Bonds were, though, that place would absolutely be drenched in jism. God, can you imagine the stream of women going in and out of that place? And all the quality quiches being cooked for them.
Yeah, Roger would be the resident cook.
Yeah, he would.
What's
I
your
think
name,
Tim,
Roger?
I think Tim would be the
Sure.
wine waiter.
Fucking hell, that's the
His penis
second
would
bottle
just
of
be
wine. They
water.
must be pissed.
Jeez.
Really? Sorry, I'm not making myself look good, am I? There, the idea that one bottle of wine would get you pissed, and I'm stunned. It's like, really?
You haven't gone out for your wine yet, Dave.
Well, no, I'm in the middle of something, and we've got a guest, Becca.
I know, of course. Don't worry. Yeah, not that you usually make a point of going out and getting a drink halfway through.
Yes, this is like the plot exposition of basically justifying Stacey's presence in the film.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of these Basil exposition scenes, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's an excuse to play the romantic theme again, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's a really nice score. And the way the house is shot as well is really pretty. I'm not too sure about the Laura Ashley decor though.
Yeah, it's quite chintzy.
And the following decades afterwards, IKEA would come along and be like, right, check out that chintz.
I feel like there should be like a doll collection somewhere.
A little doll's house.
Oh,
Very diplomatic, Roger.
I was going to
That's
say
it.
he was tempted. He was like,
He's
"Should
checked the
I?"
running time, and he thinks, well, it's only a few minutes till I do a end of the film.
Obviously learnt a few things from Bibi.
I was always like thinking like in how this get made, where like he's a spy and literally he got woken up by her making breakfast coming in.
Because all geologists
You're not very good.
work from home like that.
Okay.
Well, you need specialist equipment that only the average domestic setup has.
Internet was expensive in those days.
Like first computer.
Yeah, it's got to be a
There's
first.
quite a lot of stuff in these films that looks like Terminated. You got the ATAC in for your
Tommy.
eyes, which looks like a toy.
It's just dated.
Okay then, Mark. You talked about favourites. This is your favourite. What's the best for you?
My best Bond film was On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay.
It's the right answer.
Yeah.
There's no need to be judgmental, Becca. We've never expressed a preference.
God,
I'm
I
joking,
hate
don't
that
worry.
film. I'm kidding.
Pretty awful. Only kidding.
Our review of it is something of a love letter, to say the least.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
it's a
as long as the
beautiful
film
film.
itself.
It's hard to argue against it, really. It's. I think Dave, didn't you say like there was someone you came across who flat out hated it?
Oh, I've known a few over the years, but I remember listening to it. Oh yeah, I think the two things I would have mentioned on this podcast were a friend of Charlie's. When we did the first music episode, we were chatting earlier that evening to people getting questions, and somebody said it was by far the worst. And also, I listened to a podcast, and I think it may be Bondcast, who said that that it was the worst in the series, which I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't. But it's like the same as like people say, like bad mouth License to Kill. It's like I can understand why it's I can understand that it's not your favourite, but to be the worst, I mean, you just look at it and think in terms of quality in any aspect, how is this the worst?
I guess the only thing, if you have real problems with Lazenby, I can sort of understand them maybe.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, well, you go, well, at least like everything else, like direction and the score and everything else is just like, it's just like, well, that puts it at least on some esteem. You know what I mean? It's like at least you go, well, I didn't like the guy, I didn't like the Bond in that one, but everything else is great. So I just don't.
It's brilliantly written as well. There's great dialogue in it. There's a sort of very classical push on the dialogue, and I don't mind Lazenby in it.
I like Lazenby in it.
He plays an aloof.
I don't like him.
agent.
I don't think he's very good at humour. I don't think his humorous scenes are very good, but I like him in everything.
You had a lot of guts.
Yeah, I find that the whole Hilary Bray dubbing thing sort of a bit odd, using George Baker's voice. They're obviously trying to edit it a bit round Lazenby's performance, and that's why they brought Rig in.
I think that's maybe one. Maybe not the thing, but like it helped him be regarded as a lesser Bond because of that. Because of like, there's a certain chunk of the film which he's dubbed. It's a bit off kilter. If they just allowed him to be him, it would have maybe helped him in some regards.
It's a very romantic film. It's without being romantic as well. It's romantic through the music and the sort of Mediterranean settings. Peter Lamont does love a filing cabinet, it must be said.
He does love a good filing cabinet, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's a lot of filing cabinets in License to Kill, if I remember.
That's one thing to look out for in his movies. I do love this bit when Zorin and Mayday sneak up on them.
I think I read in one of Roger Moore's books recently that he'd worked with Christopher Walken when Walken was like a 10-year-old child actor in some TV drama in America in the 50s. They remember working with each other. I think they became friends during production. Walken stayed with Roger Moore over Christmas during that year of shooting.
That's incredible.
He was very, very complimentary, both live and on the commentary about Christopher Walken. He said Christopher Walken never needed many takes. Very on point, very interesting actor, always did interesting things with his take. He was very complimentary about him. Now, Daniel Benzali went on to do a very, very lauded show called Murder One.
Yeah,
about 8 years after this, and before the year before that, he was in the first season of NYPD Blue as a lawyer, and he looks nothing like this. Just adding a touch of weight to him and removing the sort of horseshoe hair bit from him, and he looks totally different.
Walken is good in this scene.
Yeah, he is.
No, it's probably best seen in the movie, I think.
It's hard to make a sort of death scene in a Bond film dramatic or harsh, and this is one of the harsh ones, I was thinking.
It's so, well, point blank range, isn't it, pretty much? It's like, oh my god.
You also see a blood squib, which it's not a common thing in the series, really.
Blood effects.
Yeah.
Genius.
Not really.
But it is brutal. I mean, because it's just. I think it's just probably Walken's. Apart from the Uzi scene later on, this is like the one sort of character bit where he's actually get to be like really villainous and.
Is he got a meat of his role, I guess?
And be completely Walken.
Yeah.
I think. So we always like start the podcast with a clip when it comes to like the review, and I think when it comes to in my head I wanted this one, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So we ended up going with you chose the horse racing scene, didn't you, Dave?
Sorry, say that again.
The clip at the beginning of the review, it was the horse racing scene.
Yes, it was. It was the
Yeah.
Gogol and Dolph Lundgren. Yeah.
So I originally wanted to go for the dead scene.
I was a little bit driven by, because Chris edited the first, I don't know, 17, 20 episodes, whatever it was, episodes of this podcast, but he's a lot busier than I am, full stop. So I sort of taught myself to. But I'm fast learning. You're very, very driven by what you can find, and there weren't a lot of clips. Maybe I didn't enter the right criteria.
No,
was
I
looking for
had a look,
clips,
so I couldn't find it.
or whether I was being impatient. I was struggling for clips. I really was for this film.
Which is weird, because you would have thought there'd be loads of this. But yeah,
It's terrifying, this scene.
It's lots of the sound effects from Moonraker.
Is it?
That sort of crunch, well, there's that crunching metal one sound effect.
With the
You can hear it in Moonraker and a few of the other John Glenn films.
with the
I
kind
like
of
all this. It's sort of natural jeopardy. Admittedly, she spends the rest of the film just hanging and screaming.
James.
Yeah, that's why she's so useless. Bless her. No, from here on out, she really is a damsel in distress.
A friend of ours, he still lives there now. He lives just around the corner from City Hall and was there in '84 when it shot. And he said it was pretty full on with all the gas canisters. The locals were warned, but it was still frightening, and a few locals did panic it somewhat.
I can imagine.
Well, that's typical people not reading like warning signs before something happens.
I think a lot of these scenes are actually shot in City Hall because, as I say, they were given free rein just to get in there all the time at night.
I bet Bond was tempted just to leave her. He's going, yeah, fuck it, I can't be asked.
Oh,
Oh,
I mean, at this point, I don't really have any problem with any of this, but obviously once he gets on the fire truck and she's shouting James every 2 seconds,
yeah.
and the back projection's really bad, even though it does have its charm, that charm sort of drops away the newer the films get. You watch back projection on a 60s film, you perfectly understand and buy it. The later the films get, the more you're like, oh, come on, films were doing better than that by then. But it goes on a bit too long, and I just don't like it. It doesn't feel very much like a Bond film as well.
I think I said before, but I switch off when it comes to like the kind of what do you call like the chase scene where Bond's on like a unusual vehicle, like he's on a bus and he's
on
all,
a unicycle.
oh yeah, it's just like I go okay, I'll switch off, and he's like chased by police. It's like it's not real villain. I don't know. I just find like when he's actually chased by segments where he's actually chased by actual like police force. I just think I don't know. I'd just rather it be the villains. I don't know. It's probably just
Well, it's busy work, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd love if it was Sheriff Pepper doing this.
Bit promoted.
oh god.
No, he's busy. He's
don't know if
busy
that
on a
was
holiday of a
ever on the
lifetime
table.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Thailand, Cairo.
Well, I doubt he'd go to the West Coast.
Thailand, preferably, as farther away as possible.
Well, the things that wouldn't work because he'd see him and go like, "Oh, you're that secret Asian
From England.
There's the homeless man's perspective. It's that homeless man's perspective.
Do you think they wanted that guy back again, but they couldn't get him?
Victor Torjansky.
Yeah.
He's had his trilogy. Or double take pigeon.
So cheesy, this bit.
Notice how much her rear end is in frame there.
The bomb shot.
I like how the guy in the police just literally is like, yeah, well, you're guilty, Al, from no evidence whatsoever, other than the fact that they just came out of the building. Though he does stupidly admit to like being like, oh, that's my gun. Why didn't he just say, well, fine, arrest me, but I think you'll find that I have a license to kill, so...
Yeah, I think obviously he would do that, but no.
Yeah. It's like, why is he running away? We are just basically watching this film now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, once a scene arrives pre-piss taken, it's quite difficult to do anything with it.
Sorry.
I mean, the problem is, I think even if I really loved Roger Moore as Bond, and there are things about him I do like, I think I've often said through the films, I tune out with Roger Moore in action because he's not that good at it. Particularly his fistfights, I think I said all the way through, his fistfights all look the same. And you've got oof, like you said, Chris. And it's just like, well, I'm not really that interested.
Can't remember San Francisco being that busy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm just looking out for landmarks saying that I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, I try and do the same. Like
Yeah.
Chinatown. Don't know, Lombard Street, but they don't really go here in this film. Coit Tower, but you just see that in the background.
It is a lovely city because it kind of feels like a town as well. It's really kind of a nice sort of feel and vibe for it.
Yeah, and it's quite kind
There's
of
Roger at Pinewood.
briefly. Road projection is awful. Yeah, it's
Going to
nostalgia.
San Francisco feels like a town, eh? Must visit sometime.
It's Market Street, isn't it? When they went down. Oh, the big.
Oh, that was clearly Roger there.
Two gay cowboys.
I was going to say Cannonball, but
They managed to show Market Street in San Francisco without showing one drag queen, which is quite a skill, actually.
I don't know. Was that a popular thing at the time though?
There is a Pinewood again.
Look at that.
There she is at Pinewood.
It's not moving still. Like, how hard is it being? Put a wind machine on him a bit. I know that doesn't do good for Cossack and Falcon shares, but...
Yeah.
What's that?
Makes it.
I've never noticed that,
What the couple shagging in the...
Yeah.
In a
Van.
in a van, yeah,
I was
dogging.
too busy being beguiled by the action.
Lack of movement in Bond's hair. They're learning all kinds of things tonight.
This actually really needs the score, because the score does that John
really?
Barry pounding music.
That's the thing, when you do the
Really
commentaries, you
Kicks
kind
in
of...
here. Yeah, you lose the audio a little bit, but
Have it on a very low, like number one or
Score's
two or
great.
something.
It really is.
I do love the score just a little bit.
Which I always thought it's a shame coming to this film, because the score is one of the best bits. It's like... when it gets to the...
We had the same with Majesties, though. We commentated on that without the score being anything.
Well, because it was one of the first like electronic scores, wasn't it, in Bond? And you just think,
this was the first clip I remember seeing of this film on the premiere. They showed this clip. So every time I see this, I sort of think of Judith Chalmers introducing Roger Moore, like it was a big thing.
I remember watching the Wogan interview Roger Moore promoting this,
Mm.
and even then it was like they were like saying, "Aren't you too old for this?"
Oh.
Yeah, but it was kind of like done as like a kind of a joke kind of thing. But so I think it was definitely fresh in people's minds at the time. That come on, Rog.
I think America needs to be in a Bond film again. It's been a while now.
I'm never sure. I mean, I'm trying to think. With the exception of Goldfinger, where it's Kentucky, sort of, although it isn't.
Yeah.
But it's American set, and certainly some of the scenes convince you it is.
Mm.
I'm not sure Bond has ever gone that well in America. I suppose it depends. I don't. Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. Yeah, okay, that's a fair point.
Well, when is it gonna? Well, okay, there's this.
Diamonds.
Diamonds, Live and Let Die. I say Goldfingers, but
Yeah.
Actually, I'm talking out my arse, aren't I? Because License to Kill's American set.
Oh gosh, of course.
Oh yeah.
But it's more Mexico, isn't it more?
No, it's the Florida Keys and all that.
It's in the city.
Where?
It's in the city. I'm deliberately mispronouncing that. Obviously, if I tried, it would be perfect diction.
Sorry.
So let's try.
I'm completely unaware.
It's like Shooting Stars, isn't it? With like, let's hear that song properly.
I was thinking of the Fast Show when Chris Bond on was like. Oh dear.
Is that Roger Moore doing an American accent there?
Mm.
Your rear end. That's a big punch.
Oh wow, that's.
He went flying.
He was quick moving there.
You sound surprised.
So they snuck in and they feel the need to try and find a uniform.
Obviously, no security at the
Yeah,
Zora
they've gone
Mines.
past the actual security of the thing. But they need to find we need to find a uniform. So which is your favourite part of the film then, Mark? What's
I love all the stuff at the stables earlier on. I love this San Francisco stuff.
Do you know did you hear the barely disguised subtext in Chris's question there? Come on, justify your mental opinion.
Oh no, I was like, no, that wasn't it at all. I was generally okay. So what is the favourite part of the film? Because I think
I like all the airship.
So what do you like about this then? Okay, I'll shut up now. Carry on.
No, it generally wasn't it. I was just literally going like, okay.
I didn't think it was until you started like massively trying to over-explain yourself after I said it, and now I'm wondering. I've hit a nerve.
Because I just like towards the end is my favourite part of the film. I think I don't mean that in a kind of like because it's near the end. I mean
it's
like
Bond showering with her,
yeah.
and Q getting it on video for his porn collection.
No, but it's this kind of whole sequence really. I think it's. I don't know. It's just like a different sort of take up. Oh, okay, yeah, that as well. But yeah, and I know a bit was Zorin on the blimp. I really do enjoy that. But yeah, sorry, Mark, what were you saying?
No, I do like all the airship stuff. I do like the whole San Francisco backdrop as well. I don't mind all this mine stuff. It is a bit Temple of Doom. But there's a sort of ambition to it. And then we have the moment coming out where Walken goes a little crazy with the machine gun. I'd like to watch it now because that's quite a big set. I don't know how big that set is.
We're not going to say he's mad. He's probably he's probably got his reasons. He's gone a bit crazy.
Well, essentially, that is the film's big set piece. Really, it's there isn't really like a big action set piece which the film ends on. Really, it doesn't have a big elaborate fight at the end. So that Walken literally massacring his entire workforce is that equivalent, really. Which is an odd thing if you think about it.
That's a big set, though. Look at that.
Has Walken ever mentioned anything about doing this film?
I don't know. I've not read anything. I think again in Some Kind of Hero, they interviewed Walken and he gave some comments about it. I think Walken really enjoyed the whole thing and was glad to be asked, because it was almost like the first cool casting for Bond. We hadn't had that cool casting. Now we have Javier Bardem and Christoph Waltz as a given, but
it wasn't normal. You didn't really have prestige casting at this point, did you?
No. And he'd won the Oscar for Deer Hunter. He was in The Dead Zone, which I think is a great film.
The Dead Zone's amazing. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I love Dead Zone.
It's really good.
It was very, very good.
There aren't many good Stephen King film adaptations, actually, relative to the number that have been made, I mean. But The Dead Zone's terrific.
I think the whole idea, when he first finds has that first vision to that nurse or something. It just
wasn't it a fire in the corner of the room? Was the
it
first
was
vision?
he just envisions the house burning down. And he tells her it's not too late, and it's just it sends shivers down my spine.
So creepy.
And it actually told you he can do anything, because there's very few films you see Walken in scared.
Yeah, he's terrified.
Oh, actually, no. I think my favourite bit is where he completely. It's that bit with that journalist who's really gets cocky with himself, and he just completely says something that just completely breaks him down, freaks him out, and it naturally would do. And it's just oh my god. Sorry, we're talking about a completely different film there.
That's all right. Talk about whatever you want.
But
we're talking about Christopher Walken. It's vaguely relevant.
Yeah, but I do love Dead Zone. Yeah.
I just think that there's such a focus on, because he's got such a distinctive speaking voice, and it's the cadence of it as well, that he's almost become viewed as the sort of parody of him. And you've got to remember what a terrific actor he is.
He's also a fantastic dancer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they were lucky to get him.
He has a real coup, I think.
He was an American star as well. After Octopus and Your Eyes Only, maybe American stars weren't looking to be in a Bond film. But I think it utterly works. He's my favourite Bond villain as well.
I think it's testament to him to actually go, yeah, fuck it, why not? Because he's willing to kind of just do something that's not the norm. He's willing to kind of yeah, fuck it, I'll try this out.
He really helps to make the movie memorable as well. I mean, not that it wouldn't without it, but he kind of, I think if you to go, oh yeah, it's Dr. Walken in it, Zoran,
Should we rather than do them in a big lump at the end, should we ask Mark the odd question as we go along here now?
Yeah, literally, we've got 3 questions.
No, we got another one's. What's reminded me of that is another one's popped up.
Oh, good. Okay, let me have a look at that one then.
Literally on Facebook in the last couple of seconds.
Okay, go on then, Dave. Shoot.
Antoinette Michelli's just asked a question.
Well, what did she say?
She asked, is Mark going to write another book on James Bond? Antoinette, you should before he answers this, you should be really honoured here, because you've come in at the last minute with a question and we're asking yours first. So all those people who planned and thought about it and did it days ago, tough shit. Antoinette's just asked a question. So Mark, are you going to write another book on James Bond?
I am writing another book. Whether it's on James Bond's is yet to be seen. But yeah, I would very much like to write another book on Bond. So that's the cagey, not really answer.
No, I know. Obviously, you can't say at the moment. Then one assumes.
We'll have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Whether this one, that's no good if we put it out on a podcast, is it?
Well, no, but you can't say anything.
Okay, let's try and word this another way without trying to look like we're trying to catch him out. Whether or not this was about Bond, your current book, do you feel you have more to say on the Bond series?
Yeah, certainly I've got more. I think there's more angles to look at and to sort of research upon and sort of write about. Not just the films themselves, but the sort of surrounding stories. Yeah, I think there's always more to sort of write about.
Okay. So, so our top tip for listeners here is ask your question right before the commentary finishes.
And we'll get it in.
Let's get first.
I have a question. What's your favourite Bond actor?
My stock answer to that is I always say the best Bond actor should always be whoever we've got right now. So my favourite Bond actor at the moment is Craig, but I do have a soft spot for Roger Moore because he was the first I saw. He was like, Sean Connery was just the step Bond to me. He was the one that came second. So I always say Roger Moore is my favourite, but I think the best Bond should always be whoever we've got now. And I think Craig's doing a brilliant, excellent job.
Who would you say is the worst?
Oh gosh, good one.
And bear in mind, you can have like your favourite worst. Obviously, it's like
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a good one. There's parts of what Brosnan does, but that's not him. I don't think there's any worst ones really. There's little down points, but they all have their little troughs and their peaks.
Yeah, I agree with Brosnan.
No, there is no worst one. There is, or maybe Connery in Never Say Never Again.
Brosnan's era is not aging well.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Brosnan, I think he was let down by the films themselves. Really, I think that's it's. I think he could have been better, but he was let down.
But you look at Roger's film. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, but Brosnan's performance in Die Another Day, it's almost all in italics and sort of Russ Abbott double entendres. It's all. It's like Office Party Bond, a lot of the dialogue, really, and I think that's what lets him down. But he's still a good presence. He's still a sort of, he looks the part, he walks the part.
But the thing that really stood out as we got to the Moore era, in reviewing all of these, is like or hate Roger Moore, he has a lot of gravitas and he's got that big, deep, rich voice. Yes. And if you stick a Brosnan film on right afterwards, minimal screen presence, far too reedy and quite a whiny voice. And that as a soundbite sounds awful. He's nowhere near that bad. But the point I'm making is it wouldn't be much of a push for me to put Brosnan last. Which I never expected to say, because he has none of the positives of Roger Moore and an awful lot of the negatives.
I don't think anyone's failed at the part. They may have.
No, I don't.
Yeah, and hopefully no one will.
But I think there were better and worse times to be Bond. And I think the late 90s, they were very safety first. I think the the current producers were still finding their own voice after Cubby went. And I think that Brosnan, they sort of very lucrative product placement. The series has always had product placement, but very lucrative product placement was still kind of in its infancy. So you end up with this feeling that Bond's a bit of a clothes horse in it. So the Brosnan era is not dating very well. Of course, Roger, you've got nylon safari suits and stuff like that. There are better and worse times to be Bond, but none of them have failed at it.
No, they reflect the times and create the times. They sometimes Bond's ahead of the curve, and sometimes he's doing something different against it.
Next question, actually, just because it's on the very same thread, so I'm looking right at it. Tony Black from the Pick a Flick podcast asks, do you think Spectre is up there with the best of Bond? Very deliberately divided there. He's certainly not asking if you think it's the best Bond. You think it's up there with the best of Bond.
I think I answered this before and I went no.
That's answered pretty much on the nose.
It's funny, if you can't read our thread, he probably thought I wrote that, but no.
It was me.
That was you.
It's it's a bit too soon to say. I think it's not that old a film. I did watch it the other night on Blu-ray, and oddly didn't notice how beautifully directed it is. It's really well directed, and it breathes a lot. There's really good moments where it just stops and breathes, which you sort of didn't get perhaps in the Brosnans. I like a lot of it. I have problems with some of it, though.
Okay.
Which I can go into, but it's
talk as much as you like. There's no hurry to the next question or whatever. If you want to say a little more, I expect to carry on.
I think Spectre's a very I love the Mexico stuff, and it's getting, like we're saying, watching View to Kill here. It was good to see Craig in a very contemporary, bustling hodgepodge of a city, rather than always beautiful, whether it's Venice or even London. I thought Bellucci was underused, and I felt the only gripe about that film is the Oberhausen stuff. I felt that they were hiding it so much that they forgot to just revel in the fact it's Blofeld. Just let it be Blofeld. But there's still time to come. That character may or may not sort of pop up again.
Yeah, I mean, if Craig came back and Waltz came back, and it's not as important, but Seydoux came back, I think whatever is done next will kind of inform opinion on this film.
Yes, possibly. Yeah, and there was always that. Well, when I think they started production on Spectre, there was that notion of doing 2 back-to-back, which was quickly thrown out just for it to be impossible. So I think there might still be a 2-story arc that they may still go with. Who knows?
Okay.
Do you think they'll go with like the original, like with the kind of like set up? Oh, Blofeld's not in this one now. He's not in this film. And then like they'll just hold it back, and it's all of a sudden it's like surprise, he is.
Oh, good point. I don't know. I don't know if they can use Spectre like it was used in the late 60s and 70s, where it was just a sort of cool backdrop to the whatever villainy was going on that week. I don't know to answer that one. I think they may go somewhere a little fresher with it in terms of. I'd like to see them get away from all this sort of surveillance, MI6, everyone terrorists, everyone sort of being scared of each other. I'd like to see something a bit more gregarious and colourful as a sort of villain scheme. But that's maybe just me.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go amiss, I'll be honest with you. But I just don't think it's very well thought out, really, a lot of it. I really
miss universal exports. I'm sick
which I think
of seeing the 00 programme being talked about in parliamentary committees. You know, it's like I'm not comfortable. I understand that MI6, the existence of MI6 is known now, and I accept that MI6 and MI5, if you keep up with current affairs in any way, you can quite easily find out who the head of them is by name. But the 00 programme, I don't like that.
It's a secret agent.
Yes.
It's meant to be a secret.
I just think it must come with a glossy brochure. You know, and enjoy in his spare time. James Bond enjoys fishing and womanising. You know,
as an agent for each paid.
Yeah, I'm not that keen on it. And also, a pet peeve I've got that I keep talking about in various reviews, although you can see it going back a little bit, there's a little bit of it in Never Say Never Again, but certainly in the sort of duology, the double that Sam Mendes has done, I'm sick of the Bond films, that meta-narrative of them trying to justify their own existence. Every film we come to now, the 00 programme I've previously moaned about is under threat, you know, and it's arguing its own relevance all the time. And I just think whether the Bond films are anachronistic or not, they're popular. Let it go. Stop trying to justify them to that degree and trying to place them that real world. You know, you can use MI6, but you know there are secret agents. Go back to universal exports. We all like that.
Yeah, one of my beefs of Spectre was going back to the MI6 building again and seeing it, you know, blown up for a third time. I sort of thought, well, we've shed all that, and I love Judi Dench as M, but the visuals, I found that building very ugly. I didn't enjoy that, and it kept changing after each Brosnan film. It just every time it was a different office, and there's no continuity to it.
The original office she had, although it wasn't the Bernard Lee office, which I prefer, if you were going to sort of soft reboot the series, I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
But I think it was around the time of Quantum where he put her out sort of in a very stark environment near a window, which we carried on with in Skyfall, and that's not M's office.
Although I think the production design and all of that in Skyfall and where Q ends up, and in Spectre as well a bit, I think all that production design is actually less abrasive than the sort of the Blairite Whitehall years of the Brosnans.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I didn't I don't. It's never a deal breaker for me. It is what it is. But I just think they're trying too hard with it sometimes. These are essentially fantasy films, and there's a difference between verisimilitude and realism.
I'd like them to just trust what they've got. That sometimes, and I agree with the sort of constant justification. But it's been done well, though. Perhaps the frequency of it is the problem.
I think that's it. I think we had Judi Dench sit in a committee, and probably the most famous, apologies listeners because I am repeating myself here, but she sat in the most memorable scene in Skyfall for me, did that poem and talked about the relevance. And in some not very subtle direction, you get reaction shots of Ralph Fiennes clearly having the penny drop. One film later, he's the establishment figure saying, no, we need it. And you just think, we've just done this. You know?
Oh, we just lost Grace Jones.
Yeah, what do you make
We're
of
all
that?
devastated.
What do you make of that whole turn, like she turns good at the end kind of thing? Does that jar you in any way? Because it kind of like, I'd rather Mayday remain a villain.
Bond used his magic penis on her.
Well...
Revenge for her.
Look at this. This is really, really lazy, this bit, where she's captured.
It's behind you.
What she'd have had to do is drop to the floor. Let's do another question. Tom Barwick, he's asked a couple of questions. One of them is, in fact, I think he's asked 3. Has your opinion of this film, A View to a Kill, changed much over the years? Do you still watch it as the 9-year-old boy you were, or is it changed?
A little bit, hopefully it still does, yeah. I find myself sort of defending it a lot because there's a lot of people sort of not so fresh on it. And I think it's fine. I'm a big fan of San Francisco as well, which that has helped as I've got older. And I love the music. I love that whole Duran Duran sound, that mid-80s, that 1985 summer, which I do remember. It all sort of floods back. Plus the marketing campaign and that getting the soundtrack album as well, because that was all the first time. So I think that was partly why it's been circled as sort of a favourite memory and film.
It must be annoying, like, having to constantly, like, sort of go, well, what's your favourite of View to Kill? Oh, God, really? Oh, it's fucking awful. That kind of response.
It's actually easy. It's easier because then you don't have to, if you like or talk about the ones that everyone seems to like, then you're struggling for something new to talk about.
And not only that, you're arguing almost semantics then, because if his favourite was, if Mark's favourite was From Russia with Love and ours is Majesty's, we'd be sitting here like nitpicking over the differences. And frankly, they're both valid favourites. Yeah. Whereas with something like A View to a Kill, even Mark would admit it's not the best film in the series. So frankly, you've already won your argument because it's like, well, it's my favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually matter, because if you start saying, well, tell us why it's better than Majesty's, it isn't.
Yeah.
So why do you like it? Because it's my favourite. Because I was born in 1975. It's my favourite. Because
I've got emotional attachment to it.
Exactly. That is not and can never be an incorrect argument.
Yeah.
No, everything I like about A View to Kill is everything I like about other Bond films, like Bond arriving with some violins, a cool soundtrack, sort of intriguing titles, seeing the first poster, the first teaser. Everything I like about this film is everything I've liked about subsequent Bond films.
Okay, we'll come to some final thoughts on A View to a Kill now. I don't want to finish on a morbid note, so we're going to do it now. We're going to do this bit now. And it's the last question I'm going to ask, because he's asked a shit-stirring question about Octopussy as well. And frankly, we don't want to go there with me. given I've read the start of your book, and it's like, you're just shit-stirring, Tom. Let's...
I ignored those. As soon as I saw them, I thought, no, sorry, Tom, I'm not going to ask those.
Why? What did he ask?
No, don't. Nothing, Chris. He asked. He asked if. No, no,
look on Twitter
I
and
was going
Facebook,
to do one
Chris.
of the made-up ones. No, this one's on Twitter. Tom asks, and he asks all four of us, including Mark, your favourite set designs by Ken Adam.
Ooh. Yeah,
That's a tough
okay.
one.
Start in your own time, folks. Becca,
Okay.
Right. Sorry, Oliver. Sorry. Go on.
I'm
Yes.
gonna say the war rooms.
From.
Well, obviously outside of Bond, but obviously Bond does so many. But yeah, probably.
Oh, you're on
like,
about from Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I'm looking outside, obviously in Bond and outside the world of Bond. But
Okay.
yeah, I'd pick the war rooms definitely. It's just like you can't fight in here. It's the war room.
That is a brilliant, brilliant design.
I'm gonna say you only live twice. The Blofeld's Fortress.
Hololet Volcano Lair. Oh my god,
I think that would probably.
that's iconic.
I think that would probably sort of. Yeah, I think that would top charts purely on recognizable. How recognizable it is. People can immediately recall that. And of course, the set cost $1 million, which was just phenomenal in
Phenomenal in
1967.
the 60s. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
We'll let Mark go last, obviously, as our guest. So I will go with the briefing room from Thunderball.
Oh yeah, how could you forget that?
that is a pretty good one.
That's my favourite. I very nearly named a much more prosaic one. Same film, sort of the Spectre meeting room, just because it's become quite iconic and much lampooned. But
sure.
but yeah, no, my favourite set in probably all of Bond. With the possible exception, I suppose I would throw in, although it isn't Ken Adam, I might throw in the chess room from Russia with Love. But from Ken Adam, yeah, the briefing room, right, now that we're all here, from Thunderball, I think is my favourite of his sets.
Well, mine has always been, I can never remember the character's name, Asaka's office.
Asato.
Asato, yeah.
Asato.
Yeah.
Asato, that's it. But with all that split level and the white screens and the copper and the metal and the woods, I love that set. And I I'm printing a picture of it and framing it on my corridor for years. So that's always been the one. And I agree with you on the Spectre boardroom as well. It's a beautiful piece of exposition as much as design as well.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question. Certainly, I mean, Becca didn't name a Bond one. You got a favourite one in Bond?
I'd have to go for the meeting room as well, I think.
Okay.
That is it between that and the hollowed out volcano later.
In all honesty, I'd probably go with you in that. I was definitely sort of thinking Bond first, and I think I'd still go with my answer. But certainly when I was looking him up earlier, because I didn't actually know he'd done Doctor Strangelove, and it was on there, and I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, that would be top if I wasn't focusing on Bond.
Just because it's such a clever movie overall as well.
Tony, one bonus question very quickly. Tony Black asks, how much did we pay you to do this?
$1 million.
There you go. That's
the one. There's your answer, Tony.
That's the fee.
On a Stacey Sutton check, yes.
$5 million.
Waste of a good blimp.
Yeah.
So that's clearly.
I always think of Max.
I was trying not to do it. I was trying like.
He does sound like a goat.
Professor Goat Mortner.
He's standing up again.
He's very active in this movie.
Like rivals standing in the middle of.
Would you want him in the MI6 building at this
exactly.
point? I mean, they're still at the stage where they're having summits. Peace is not entirely settled.
I mean, you can kind of buy it in Spy, where it's like a different location completely, in a different country.
Oh dear.
Oh, poor Penny. Look at her.
I know. I just feel awful, and it's because she's been there since Doctor No. That's all. Everybody ages, you know.
And there's Q's main gadget, go-kart with a
Those
camera.
Porn hunter.
A remote control car with a camera.
Yeah.
These days he'd have a drone, wouldn't he?
What I would love is if they'd already got to the shower, and when it cut out to there, that van was shaking like fuck.
This van's a knocking, don't come a knocking.
Queuing it, giving it hell.
Like, what is the point of, like, okay, why just go and knock on the door? For Christ's sake!
Well,
It's like,
beguiled by the
And the thing is, he must know what's going on now. His clothes have been stripped off all the way. And he's like, I'm sure it's perfectly innocent. I'm heading into the bathroom. I mean, good God.
Hang on, do they just have a line there on the subtitles that's not in the film about dropping a bar of soap?
Yeah, I saw that. That's not the soap. Just noticed that as well.
he's proper pervy now, isn't he, now?
Hang on a minute, is that an anal joke? Oh, well, classy way for Roger to sign off.
Well, at least he's happy.
Well, he started in bed with a woman and he ended in bed with a woman, so that's 7
Closure.
years of 7 films of
7 years of wall-to-wall penicillin.
Beyond Susu. So how many times have you seen the film now, Mark? Is that your millionth?
Gosh,
No, surely.
probably too many, but I don't see it that often. No, I saw it loads as a kid with the VHS. Used to rent it out loads. Spend a fortune at the video store, just keep renting it out every Saturday.
Like you again.
Yeah, I'm not joking as well. I did literally take it out nearly every fortnight or something.
Yeah, he goes in, it's like, let me guess, Iron Eagle 2? No?
No? Oh, really? Why not? Oh, thank you so much for coming on, the show
Not
with
at
us.
all. No,
Really
thank you.
appreciate
It's been good fun. Good fun.
Well, be sure to keep an eye out for your new book as and when it appears.
Yes, no, yeah, early days on that, but all will be
Yep,
revealed,
yep.
I'm sure, in time. But no, I appreciate it, and good luck with what you're doing. It's good fun. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you.
And be sure you can
Take
pick
care.
up Mark's book in all good bookstores.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
brilliant read.
actually, we best give up, before you sign off, tell us where
Yes,
you
no.
are on social media, tell us about the book and where people can get more information.
Okay, it's Catching Bullets-Memoirs of a Bond Fan. It's available in all good book stockists, some of the bad ones as well, online as well.
So, yeah, all good and all evil. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on, that's got a Facebook page, Catching Bullets, and also I'm on Twitter, Mark Zero Connell, and that's where I am, and I'm on www.markoconnell.co.uk as well.
Right. And it's worth going there because he's done a bit more than you might know about.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Quite interesting, the stuff Mark's worked on that you may not have known. Mark, thanks ever so much. It's
No
been
worries,
great.
not at all, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take
Take care,
care.
All right,
folks.
take
Bye.
care. All right,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
good night. See you then.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening, and Mark's had a few interesting
He
tidbits. along the
vaguely
way.
mentioned the film at points as well.
You don't say.
As soon as we knew we had a guest, though, it was always going to cut down the penis joke quotient, and it was also going to cut down the amount we talked about the actual film.
Don't worry, Dave. I'm sure you'll be back on fine next time.
But I thought it was actually quite a good thing because it kind of works as both a commentary and a single podcast as well. I thought,
Yeah, 2 in 1.
yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
because other commentaries are like I think are pretty like you have to watch the film with us, really. So, but then I think this one it actually kind of works as both. I think you don't necessarily have to listen to it, which I thought was actually quite a nice change of pace, really. So yeah, I've quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, we'll try and make that clear when we put the show out, because we do have people who listen to us and listen to all our episodes who haven't done the commentaries yet, or they might have done one of them because they're waiting till they next watch the film, and I would argue it's not particularly necessary with the conversation we've just had.
No,
But it was nice to have him on, he was a good guy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
definitely.
pretty cool.
So,
But, as excited as I am about that, what's next? No, baby!
It's The Living Daylights! Ah!
So, Becca, have you actually watched this already, like I have? Or have you...
What sort of video do you take me for? Yes.
I don't know. I mean, it's not till a few days. You're perfectly entitled to not watch it yet.
No, I watched it earlier in the week, and then I'll go to probably watch it tomorrow, or if not,
Oh,
Saturday
wow.
after work. So, or just
And
because I
I-
do the same as
yeah.
Dave. I kind of watch it one on its own, and then again, like with sort of a commentary and any making of documentaries, things like that, and things like that. So,
I need to do the commentary. I've done the making of, and I've also covered the Brosnan and Dalton casting story, which is nowhere near as involved as I thought it was. And I've just got to watch the film, but I tend to watch the film literally just before we record.
Yeah, so it's fresh.
I finish and we start. Yeah. So
no, I'm looking forward to it. Really
and-
exciting.
yeah, I mean, I joked about it with Roger Moore and all the rest of it. There's a lot of truth in what I'm saying. He's not my Bond, but it's been good to cover them. I've not resented having to do them, but like finally, I'm getting on to like not only a Bond, but a Bond film, I just think is entirely what... I'm not that fond of the literary James Bond in a lot of ways, but I think if Ian Fleming had lived long enough to see, or you could put him in a time machine and bring him forward to see the living daylights, he would recognise that as his Bond. It's the same Bond that was in From Russia with Love and all the rest of it. I really think it's great.
I was just thinking back when I watched Living Daylights, and I'm thinking about how you are now to how you were when we were coming into watching more. You're like, I'm quite looking forward to watching more because it's a nice change of pace. And now we're coming out watching more. It's like, thank fuck for that. We can
yeah, no. I think, with the exception of Octopussy, when I was both pissed and pissed off before we even started the bloody thing, I think I held it together fairly well, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
7 films, and I was actually complimentary as late as the 5th one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did alright. I'm proud of you.
I did okay, but I have to say I was glad it was finished. I really liked For Your Eyes Only, and tonally its closest cousin, and a very close cousin of something like From Russia with Love, is The Living Daylights. It's not my favourite historically of the 2 Dalton films, but it's really good.
Yeah, well, I felt, I've got an urge to kind of like just blurt out like what I kind of want to say about Living Daylights.
But we can't.
No,
save it.
I'm gonna say
Becca's gonna do the big sign off and reveal as to what our next podcast is in a minute. Who knows? We don't know what it's going to be yet. Could it be Dalton? I'm not sure.
And James Bond will return in Skyfall.
The Living Daylights.
Well, it's Becca. She could say anything. I mean, we'll come back in Charlie. We've been in.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Quite busy.
No, we are cutting straight to Dalton era now, aren't we? I think.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question before we sign off properly? If we were to do, let's just say, like, if we would say, okay, let's just do another commentary on any of the Bond series from what we got up to now, what would it be? Bear in mind, like, obviously, we'll not include the ones we've already done.
I'm a little bit torn on it. I don't want to do Octopussy. Diamonds has occurred to me, but
yeah, people want us to do Diamonds, don't they?
Without trying to blow our own trumpet, I think we said everything we could want to say. Like, whether you like or dislike the episode, Diamonds is exactly the episode we wanted to do. And when we listen to it back, I'm thinking, I can't find anything more to say on this film. I got everything out I would ever want to say about Diamonds, so no, I don't want to do a commentary on it. Not because I don't think I could do a good one, but just because I'd be saying...
It would just revert to being crude and...
Well, yeah, we wouldn't want that now, would we?
No.
But no, I've said it all. I mean, as we went through the film, I said everything I could think of about the film. And when I listened to it back, as I did soon after we did it, none of us really left anything on the table to say afterwards.
No.
So I wonder what that would be. We've had a few requests for GoldenEye.
Well,
that'd be interesting.
That might not be a bad shout.
We'll think on it. We'll think on it.
So what's on the table then from the next podcast? I know we're doing License to Kill.
Well, yeah, we go. Basically, we do the 2 Daltons, the 4 Brosnans.
We've got Charlie coming on at the end.
No, we haven't got Charlie at that stage. We've got 2 commentaries at the moment at that stage, but we could add a third because there's no Charlie in that section because it's just the split of films. It's only 6 films, so
which commentaries are we doing? Obviously, we're doing Dying
License
Another Day.
to Kill and Die Another Day.
Die Another Day, and are we doing one Craig?
Not doing any Craig. Spectre.
No, we're not doing any Craig till we do Craig.
Yeah, but
we go on to Craig after that, and then we're doing Spectre.
No, but in terms of commentaries, it's just Spectre on its own, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't know if we've announced, but what we've done is said we'll top and tail it with what we think of the film a few months on, although we pretty much did that last week.
Yeah, we kind of did.
But we decided we're going to commentate on Spectre.
Yeah. It may change, but currently it's Spectre.
Yeah, it's Spectre.
Okay.
It's Spectre, don't you know?
I think Spectre is actually... I think that will produce the best commentary of the 4.
Really?
I think it would produce the best of the 4 Craig films, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's best set up for a commentary.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because there's a good mix of impressive stuff in it and stuff to laugh at. And some mistakes and, all the rest of it. So, yeah, I think we're going to have a good time with that. But first, Becca, what's next?
Do you expect it to talk? We'll return in The Living Daylights. Ah!
Oh, living daylights. Voice of an angel, people. Voice of an angel.
We're out. Good night, folks.